everybody, you are tuning in to Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Congratulations for being a little bit early, and a big old congratulations to $ over there on D Live. All right, folks. Well, we got just about a minute till the show starts here, but as usual, I've just got a couple reminders for you. Remember to follow us all over the place, not just on streaming platforms like Twitch, D Live, Rumble, Odyssey, stuff like that. That's all very important, especially if you are relying on the Face Like This on YouTube channel to catch the show. It's just a matter of time before you will have wished you followed us in an additional place. So make sure to do that for everybody's benefit. But also remember, you should follow us on our social medias, if for no other reason, just to let us know you're alive. But if you follow us on Twitter or wherever, you'll be able to know if something changes on our streaming platforms. Also, even better, go ahead and go to CanaryCry.Party. That's CanaryCry.Party, a real URL. And there you'll be able to sign up for the mailing list, which is also extremely important as we move into the future of the unknown. All right, everybody, we're about to get started here. Go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button now, just to get those algorithms moving. Okay, here we go.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is June 28th, 2021. This is episode 356. And today, Jab Dragons. Razzle Basil. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast, where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. I went to the beach, met some peeps for the meetup.
Woo! Nice. Yeah. Canary Cry meetup. That's fun. I'm glad you were able to make it there. You were a little wobbly. You said you were going. You left yourself some space to wiggle out of it, but you did it. Good job.
Yeah. I got to meet Ciara and her family. Met Kara and her kids, Christian, cool. Brianna. It was a good time.
Wonderful. How was the weather? Was it sunny?
Oh, it was perfect. It was in the 70s. And just, it was a great, this is, I was thinking, this is why it's hard to leave California, I know Gavin Newsom is destroying the rest of the state there, but on the edge, right on the edge of the state border.
Where the sand meets the ocean.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. So
yeah, well, that's good. Sounds like a great time. You made it out. These Canary Cry meetups are very important. So if there's one going on near you, make sure to stop by. It's just nice to realize that people exist in the real meat space and not just chat boxes. Yeah. I know, believe it or not, it's kind of crazy, but all right, well, right on. And we will have news from Ciara about when and where her next meetup will be. And of course, Kim W is working on that one up in Oregon-Washington border. We'll talk all about that later. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything that exciting to talk about, except for yesterday. My voice was a little shaky, so I'm kind of like hoping that I can make it through the show, and hopefully that new deadly Delta variant.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also have a slight sore throat, and so maybe both of us are being delta'd, They've targeted us.
Delta spreaders.
I saw all the birds on the beach, and I kept thinking, those are the government spy birds spying on me and my family and our Canary Cry family here on the beach.
Yes.
So I had to get a T-shirt here. I went ahead and ordered a Birds Aren't Real T-shirt. And
good.
I don't know if I can show you. Kind of hard to show, but it says bird watching goes both ways. And it's got a big bird with some binoculars.
Oh, yeah.
And birds aren't real. It came with a full little pamphlet here. Drone field guide, basic guide for identifying common bird drone types. You got the pigeon, which is city surveillance. You have the vulture, which is public sanitation. Bluebird retina scanner. Seagull is the coastal surveillance. Hummingbird attack drone. Owl is night surveillance. Goose recreational surveillance. Hawk regional alpha. And sparrow general surveillance.
Wow, they are really fleshing out the whole Birds Aren't Real universe.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. It comes with a sticker, and I even have an official membership card.
Oh, good.
I am one step above you now, Basil, in
It's true.
the Birds Aren't Real world. So
It's true. You're an official drone watcher.
I'm a bird skeptic.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, we hopefully will get to do a full-length show today, but we should probably get moving if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so what do we got here? We have a real quick. This should have been in the politics section, but just as a as a side note, because we're on Rumble, we're on Odyssey, we're on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, all these different platforms. But it just hit the news, I think it was this morning. Newsweek, Donald Trump's Rumble account prompts attacks from Gab and Parler founders.
What?
It's a little, yeah. You know why? I'll tell you why. The founders of the social media platform Gab and Parler have hit out a video platform, Rumble, after Donald Trump was confirmed to have a verified account on the site. The former president set up his Rumble account on Saturday, with his first video being a live stream of his rally in Wellington, Ohio. Andrew Torba, the CEO of Gab, a free speech social media app beloved by white supremacists and neo-Nazis.
Jeez Louise.
Okay, Newsweek. Claimed that the same day Trump set up his account on Rumble, the site updated their terms of service to ban hateful content. Quote, on the day President Trump joined Rumble, they changed their terms of service to ban hate speech with an explicit ban on anti-Semitic messages, also known as any and all criticism of Israel and or Jewish people, Torba wrote on Gab. No mention of banning, this is a continued quote, no mention of banning anti-white hatred, which is still allowed. According to Wayback Machine a few days prior, their terms did not include these things. Check it for yourself. And then he gets into the Parler guy getting in on the whole thing here too. But
in theory, they changed their terms of service to give them the ability to ban Trump if they wanted to?
I don't think so. I think it's part of the deal because, as you know, with a lot of the Trump critics, one of the main criticisms was his ties to Zionism and Zionist Israel. And so, just I think it was part of the deal to hey, if we're going to be on Rumble, you have to, update your thing to ban any kind of anti-Semitic speech. And so, little jingles like this.
Zionist pig!
We might just be getting flagged on Rumble now, too.
Well, that's okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, honestly, we don't have that many people who watch on Rumble.
I know, but still.
We're there because some people wanted us there. So we're like, okay, let's do it. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That's very interesting. All right. Well, you ready for a Flippy update?
Let's do it.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, it's time for the Flippy update. If you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and now there's nothing we can do about it. Today, I got an article from digitaltrends.com, and the headline is Part Terminator, Part Tremors. This robotic worm can swim through sand. Dun dun dun. Goes like this. That's how they get you. They're under the gosh darn ground, says Val McKee, the hired hand played by Kevin Bacon in 1990s classic comedy creature feature Tremors. McKee is referring to the graboids, an invertebrate species of monstrous giant worms which travel underground, pushing aside dirt while they dig. The folks at the University of California, Santa Barbara and the Georgia Institute of Technology have been working on a robot that's not a million miles from the graboids. While it's currently a lot smaller and far less prone to munching on unsuspecting cattle and humans, it's nonetheless a tunneling snake-inspired creation that's able to burrow through soil or soft sand. And maybe, its creators claim, even one day the surface regolith found on other planets. Is this the future of space rovers yet to come? Quote, we have developed a type of burrowing robot that takes a new approach to burrowing by trying to reduce... It's about time somebody changed the burrowing game. Burrowing has been it's been the same for ages. By trying to reduce resistive forces rather than combating them, Nicholas Niclario, a graduate mechanical engineering student researcher at UC Santa Barbara, told Digital Trends, quote, the three principles that enable it are tip extension to eliminate drag along the sides, air fluidization to reduce the resistive force of granular media, and asymmetry to control lift forces produced in horizontal burrowing. The robot itself is surprisingly low-tech. Its body is made of an airtight ripstop nylon fabric. A nylon tube supplies airs to its tip, which blasts aside the particulate in front of it to clear a path as it wends its underground way. A carbon fiber braid adds torsional stiffness, while a Teflon sheath reduces friction. The robot's movement is pneumatically driven by compressed air or nitrogen, allowing it to move under the surface. Naclerio said he was unfamiliar with the Tremors graboids. Yeah, right, Naclerio. Although the sandworms of Dune are another story. In fact, while the robot was definitely nature-inspired, it seemingly wasn't based on worms or snakes at all. Dun dun dun.
I don't believe him.
Did you? Oh, you mean I made a robot that's exactly like the worms from Tremors or the sandworms of Dune? Never heard of it. This came from my own imagination. I'm just so cool.
I will say, if that is the case and they're telling the truth, then you just exposed yourself for the dark spirits which are guiding you, along with the creators of those films.
Yes, the dark spirits that inspired Tremors. Notoriously in my own history, Tremors, I think it was Tremors 2, the scene where the cool cowboy couple has their underground bunker filled with guns. I think about that scene all too often. I don't know. There's not much more to this. They just talk a lot about dirt for the rest of the article, basically.
Here's what I think is very fascinating about this. For those of you watching, you can see it, but they have a picture of one of these underground sand tremor thingies. And it has like a face. So, there's like the face side and the tail side.
You're talking about the robot.
The robot itself, yeah. And the robot face has a little rectangle and a couple of holes that look like, they look like eyes. Well, they are eyes, I guess. Yes. Strangely resembles not just you, but our actual sock puppets from back in the day. I think I have the episode 100 artwork up there for those of you watching. And it was you and I as sock puppets. And I don't know, man, if they're not watching those that great movie, either Dune or the Tremors movie with Kevin Bacon, they're definitely listening to Canary Cry and just getting inspired by episode 100.
You know what? The world wasn't ready for our sock puppet conspiracy theory videos. I still contend that it was a genius idea. It's a lot more work than we expected it to be.
Yeah.
It's not easy making an entire video with sock puppets.
Yeah.
We were taking clips from Canary Cry Radio and putting
here's
sock puppets to it.
Extra proof. They have a little GIF or GIF, whatever you want to call it, on the Digital Trends article if you scroll down. And the little headline is "Burrowing Snake Robots on the Moon."
Mm-hmm. Oh, robotic wormicorns.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's not easy being an inspiration to everyone on Earth, Guns, but we got to do what we got to do. But yes, that the space travel aspect of it being like the main benefit that they're looking for. They're like, oh, we don't need all these rovers with wheels and helicopters on Mars. Who needs it? We're just gonna make little worms. It's gonna be sweet. We're gonna revolutionize the interplanetary drone rover game. And I support them. It's about time we get some wormicorns created by evil scientists crawling around on the moon. So, anyways, there you go. That's the Flippy update for today.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I want more. I want more.
You'll have to tune in next episode.
I want more from these wormicorns, robot wormicorns. All right. Well, last episode, it was a Friday, and the UFO stuff dropped, but it was a big letdown. We'll get to that in a couple stories here. But in the meantime, there was a big story that went viral about Dragon Man.
Welcome to Chinese Show!
And this was published on the New York Times. Discovery of Dragon Man skull in China may add species to human family tree.
Great.
Yeah, isn't that fantastic? It says here, scientists on Friday announced a massive fossilized skull that is at least 140,000 years old is a new species of ancient human, a finding that can potentially change prevailing views of how and even where our species, Homo sapiens, evolved. The skull belonged to a mature male who had a huge brain, massive brow ridges, deep-set eyes, and a bulbous nose. It had remained hidden in an abandoned well for 85 years after a laborer came across it at a construction site in China. The researchers named the new species Homo longi, or longi, L-O-N-G-I, and gave it a nickname, Dragon Man, for the Dragon River region of northeast China where the skull was discovered. Kind of disappointed about that. I was like, oh, does it have scales?
Yeah.
Like some horns or something? No, it's just discovered on by the Dragon River, which I guess can have its own thing there. The team said that Homo longi and not the Neanderthal was the extinct human species mostly closely related to our own. If confirmed, that would change how scientists envision the origin of Homo sapiens, which has been built up over the years from fossil discoveries and the analysis of ancient DNA. But a number of experts disputed this conclusion, published in 3 papers that provided the first detailed look at the fossil. Nevertheless, many still thought that the find could help scientists reconstruct the family tree and how modern humans emerged. All the experts who reviewed the data in the studies said it was a magnificent fossil. Quote, "It's a beautiful thing," said John Hawks, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Quote, "It's very rare to find a fossil like this with a face in good condition. You dream of finding this stuff." In 1933,
ooh, there it is.
A laborer working at a bridge construction site in the city of Harbin discovered the peculiar skull. It's likely that the man, whose name has been withheld by his family, recognized that he had found a scientifically important specimen. Just 4 years earlier, researchers had found another human-like skull, nicknamed Peking Man, near Beijing. It appeared to link the people of Asia to their evolutionary forerunners, which is always interesting to me. Like, the people in the past couldn't travel, you know?
Right.
They developed from the goo into their species and then just stayed there until they were dead, and then we discovered them.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, while simultaneously supporting theories that, the North Americans crossed a land bridge from Russia and traveled thousands of miles to populate the new continent.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than hand over the new skull to the Japanese authorities who occupied northeast China at the time, the laborer chose to hide it. He did not mention the skull to anyone for decades. In an account of the fossil's discovery, the authors of the new paper speculated that he was ashamed of having worked for the Japanese. Shortly before his death in 2018, the laborer told his family about the fossil. They went to the well and found it. The family donated it to the Geoscience Museum of Hebei Geo University, where scientists immediately could see that it had been exquisitely well preserved. In the paper published Friday, the researchers argued that Homo longi appears to have been an adult of great size. His cheeks were flat and his mouth broad. The lower jaw is missing, but the researchers infer from the Dragon Man's upper jaw and other fossil human skulls that he likely lacked a chin. Okay. He doesn't have a lower jaw, which means he doesn't have a chin. I don't know. I'm just making fun. They say that his brain was about 7% larger than the average brain of a living human.
That right there, that sentence itself is kind of hilarious. It's 7% larger than the average human, which means that there are humans today who have the exact same size brain as this guy. So, I mean, I don't know. It's not that impressive. Come on now.
The researchers argue that Dragon Man's combination of anatomical features are found in no previously named species of hominin, the lineage of bipedal apes that diverged from other African apes. They later evolved into larger brain species that set the stage for Homo sapiens to expand across the entire globe, according to the mythology of science. Quote, "It's distinctive enough to be a different species," said Christopher Stringer, a paleoanthropologist at the Natural History Museum in London and co-author of 2 of the 3 Dragon Man papers. The scientists analyzed the chemical composition of the fossil and determined it was at least 146,000 years old, but no older than 309,000 years old. That's a big range.
So specific.
Today, the planet is home to just one species of hominin, Homo sapiens. But Dragon Man existed at a time when a number of drastically different kinds of hominins coexisted, including Homo erectus, a tall human with a brain 2/3 the size of our own, as well as tiny hominins including Homo naledi in South Africa, Homo floresiensis in Indonesia, and Homo luzonensis in the Philippines. The oldest Homo sapien fossils also date to this time, Neanderthals, which shared our large brain and sophisticated tool-making, ranging from Europe to Central Asia during the period when Dragon Man may have lived. In recent years, studies of fossil DNA have also revealed yet another human-like lineage in this period, the Denisovans. The DNA came largely...
Did they get back to the Dragon Man in this article?
Yes.
Okay.
The DNA came largely from isolated teeth. The most promising fossil yet found that could be evidence of Denisovans came from the cave in Tibet. I think we covered that story. This molecular evidence combined with fossil evidence suggests that the common ancestors of Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans lived 600,000 years ago. Our lineage split off on its own, and then 400,000 years ago, Neanderthals and Denisovans diverged. In other words, Neanderthals and Denisovans were our closest extinct relatives. Wow. They even interbred with the ancestors of modern humans, and we carry bits of their DNA today. But many puzzles still endure from this stage of human history, especially in East Asia. Over the past few decades, paleoanthropologists have found a number of fossils, many incomplete or damaged, I get you, Basil. I hear it. You're getting bored.
I get it. I don't want the whole history of fossils.
Katrina Harvati, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Tübingen in Germany, who was not involved in the new study, said that the Dragon Man skull could help, quote, clarify some of the confusion. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let me get to the bottom here where the end of the article. Even if Dragon Man is a Denisovan, there would be more puzzles to solve. The DNA of Denisovans clearly shows that their closest cousins were Neanderthals. The new study, based instead on fossil anatomy, indicates instead that Homo longi and Homo sapiens are more closely related to each other than to Neanderthals.
Ooh,
I think this is interesting.
Missing link.
Well, I think this is interesting because they're admitting here that the entire basis of, it's a third species, is not on any kind of DNA test or genetic test. It's based on anatomy, which, if anybody knows the history of eugenics in the last 100 years or a little more, a lot of eugenics was based on, like, let me measure the skull. See how this Asian skull is smaller than the white man? This is because he is less evolved. You know, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think that this is a great way to assess what they actually found is, quote, I think that the genetic data in this case is more reliable than the morphological data, said Bence Viola, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Toronto who was not involved in the new study.
You
Quote,
just add some random person who's not involved.
Quote, obviously something doesn't match, Dr. Stringer acknowledged. Quote, the important thing is the recognition of a third human lineage in East Asia with its own distinctive combination of features. See? It's all based on features.
Mm-hmm.
One way to solve the mystery of Dragon Man would be to get DNA from his remarkable skull. Dr. Stringer said he's ready for more surprises. Quote, it's going to be a more complicated plot.
Ooh, so complicated.
So
I hope they do find some reptilian DNA. I want him to be a real dragon man. Because this would, I mean, you talk about paradigm shifting thing. Of course, we are aware of the lizard people and the legends of the lizard people ruling our world secretly from the shadows. But if they were like, yeah, we went back far enough and we found that there was lizard people and then there was monkey people and and lizard people DNA can still be found throughout the human population.
Well, the other thing is, remember when I mentioned about the whole UFO story and my conjecture that it's going to start affecting traditional science, evolution, all the stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is another, science is not a fast-moving endeavor, especially...
It shouldn't be. If it is, something's wrong.
Right, but especially when it comes to evolutionary history and, again, there's two kinds of sciences. There's the experimental sciences, which you can test in a laboratory and see if results are repeated, and then there's historical science where you can try to there's a lot of philosophy of science going on here. Conjecture.
Professional assumption making.
A lot of assumption making in terms of how far back something goes, the lineage, the human family tree, and it is interesting that science is trying to reconstruct the family tree of humanity. And they're just unable to, they run into all these issues, and just one skull that has some features without any DNA tests. This Stringer guy is like super excited about how they found a third.
Yeah, it is weird how
human
DNA test was not the very first thing that they did with this skull.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Like, how have you not done any DNA tests yet? That's crazy.
Yeah, and there's no pictures or anything. It's just one like CGI.
Yeah, so everybody was sort of complaining about the photo there at the top, saying how it looks fake. That is a scan of the skull. That's not the actual literal skull, which is interesting because now let's see here. Do they have the actual picture of the skull?
They have like
anywhere? That lineup, is that the...
No, I don't think so. That's
I don't think so either.
Peking Man, Maba, Janushan, Dali, and Harbinger. Yeah. And then they have kind of a like a fake, another CGI of what the individual would have looked like.
Pixar, it didn't happen, science. Show me the skull.
Show me the skull.
At least it didn't have like horns or something on it.
Well, not that we know of. Fallen off in the fight.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm surprised you haven't drawn the conclusion of Nephilim quite yet. We've made it this far, and giant Nephilim man has not come up as a topic.
Yeah, well, there's other Nephilim things to go over in today's episode, but yeah, I don't know. I think if we're looking at it from the biblical worldview, this could be some kind of either pre-Adamic race or some kind of race of beings that existed prior to the flood, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that wouldn't be surprising since, the Watchers mixed their genetics or their seed, if you will, with, human women. And so to have different kinds of humanoid species way back when shouldn't be too much of a surprise.
Yeah, not really that much of a stretch.
Yeah, but of course, it doesn't fit the evolutionary human tree, so whatever. I was disappointed. Overall, just in general, I was disappointed, and I thought it was propagandaistic to be like, hey, the day the UFO stuff is dropping, because that news isn't that exciting, Dragon Man! China, Dragon Man, the skull.
Yeah. What was the story we covered? I think it was a week or two ago about how all of the evolutionary scientists finally got together and they're like, oh, we really don't know what we're doing. We're just kind of making this up as we go.
Yeah,
this whole industry is very problematic.
The whole there's just a lot of conjecture, uniformitarianism. If you break down how, again, the historical sciences, how people come up with timelines or anything really, it's built on a whole lot of assumptions, and that's why I was appalled when they buried this information about the DNA thing at the very end of the article. Yeah, and they admitted that this is all based on anatomy, exactly how they used to do to humans in the last couple centuries with eugenics. You're not fit because you have a certain type of face structure or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean that's the morphological data. It's not really reliable. I am appalled that they even made this a thing. But maybe Dr. Stringer is bought out by the Chinese and gotta hide the
wow,
the true
just
story.
jumping right into the Chinese propaganda.
If the scientists are gonna speculate on information built on conjecture, I can do the same, and I shouldn't be punished. But of course, there's a double standard here.
And we all know you won't be punished, Gons.
Yeah, right.
Because that would be Asian hate. They can't do that.
Yeah. There was a couple more Chinese news stories that didn't make the cut today. One of them had to do with red tourism. China's centennial's coming up on July 1st. And so they have these huge propaganda things where it reminded me of if you go to a museum, like an American museum, you have all the displays of, the colonial times and everything else. But it was for red China. And then another story about China releasing footage of Zhurong, their Mars rover, taking a selfie.
Yeah. I saw some GIFs. Somebody was spreading some GIFs around the Chinese rover, taking pictures. All right. Well, speaking of lizard people, Gons, I got a little...
Sorry. You got a what?
Just a story. Okie dokie. This is coming from CBSNews.com. This actually came out on the 23rd, so it's been a while. But I guess because you finished out the second half of the show last Friday without me, so I guess you touched on this.
I did,
but I wanted to revisit it because there's some fun details. And the headline is Warren Buffett resigns from Gates Foundation, donates $4.1 billion. And it reads like this: Warren Buffett said he is stepping down from his role with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, noting in a statement that he has been an inactive trustee of the organization. His decision to step down comes at uncertain times for the foundation, as the Gates last month announced. That was weird. The Gates last month announced. Oh yeah. Forget it's somebody's family name. Yeah, sorry. Foundation, as the Gates last month announced they are divorcing after 27 years of marriage. Quote, for years, I've been a trustee, an inactive trustee at that, of only one recipient of my funds. the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, BMG. Buffett wrote in the statement, quote, "I am now resigning from that post, just as I have done at all corporate boards other than Berkshire's, or Berkshire Hathaway, the company which Buffett helms." The 90-year-old, he's 90 years old, the 90-year-old billionaire on Wednesday also said he has given away 4.1 billion's worth of Berkshire Hathaway shares as part of his goal to donate 99% of his fortune. With the most recent donation, Buffett said he is halfway there, and he shared his thoughts on wealth and philanthropy in the statement. Quote, "Over many decades, I have accumulated an almost incomprehensible sum simply by doing what I love to do," Buffett wrote. Gons, if only it were that easy, just do what you love to do and you can accumulate an incomprehensible sum. I assure you, if what you love to do is podcasting, the sum is very comprehensible. It's not going to blow anybody's mind. But let's continue. Quote, "Compound interest, a long runway, wonderful associates in our incredible country have simply worked their magic. Society has a use for my money. I don't." Buffett said he is donating the 4.1 billion in shares to 5 foundations, though the lion's share went to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The BMG received more than 3.2 billion, bringing his total giving to the foundation to nearly 33 billion. BMG CEO Mark Sussman said in a statement, quote, "I know Warren's departure raises questions about the foundation's governance," Sussman said, adding he has been, quote, "actively discussing with him, Bill, and Melinda approaches to strengthen their governance to provide long-term stability and sustainability for the foundation's governance and decision-making in light of the recent announcement of Bill and Melinda's divorce. I plan to share additional information in July." Now, the article continues, and I don't think it's necessary that we go into it, but it goes into a whole conversation about taxes and tax avoidance and rich people and philanthropy. Buffett takes the opportunity to say how he thinks the whole tax system needs to be redone and his secretary shouldn't be paying more taxes than he does, et cetera, which does fit into the prevailing conversation going on right now about, renovations of the tax system, even in conjunction, sort of hand in hand with that conversation, was the ProPublica article coming out, divulging the tax practices of billionaires in the U.S. So they kind of took the opportunity to keep that conversation going. But none of the info there is necessarily surprising, unless you saw something you wanted to go into.
No, nothing here. The one thing I did mention at the end of last episode was that Warren Buffett famously said Bitcoin is rat poison squared. I don't know if you remember that.
Uh-huh.
But he recently donated, I think it was 500 million into a Brazilian bank, a Brazilian digital bank, who are now offering Bitcoin products. So.
Oh, interesting.
Rat poison squared, getting in the game.
He's getting into his own rat poison game there. And the article ends out with Buffett said Wednesday that his remarks are no swan song. So people were kind of thinking, this is it. Buffett's going out. But it was not. It was no swan song, he says. But he added that while he still loves his job, I'm clearly playing in a game that, for me, has moved past the fourth quarter and into overtime, which is kind of nice. In this world of pretty old people still vying for power and trying to gain wealth and power through suspicious means, I don't know, i.e. the President of the United States and his BlackRock cronies. It's kind of refreshing. Look, I'm not saying Buffett's not a lizard person, but it's kind of refreshing for one of these old guys to be like, oh, you know what? I'm finished. I won. I have all the money anybody could possibly even imagine. And yeah, I'm just going to take it easy. He finally is taking the Basil advice for rich men and women. Just go to the beach. You don't need to hurt anybody else.
You know, it's crazy. Warren Buffett seems like his faculties are still there, while his
surprisingly lucid for a 90-year-old man.
While his 20-year younger President Biden, is, his advice is not so clear here.
Yeah. We need to get some of this Buffett money, man. What's going on here?
Right. We need this Buffett money. I don't want to touch any of this disturbingly disgusting Buffett money.
Hey, it's just investments and compound interest. I loved how that was his explanation for how he got where he is. He's just like, yeah, compound interest, wonderful associates, the country, it's all good. Mostly compound interest. When you've got $100 billion or more, the compound interest does adds up pretty quick.
Yeah. You get 1% on your 100 billion. That's pretty good. It's a billion.
And there you go. He's stepping down from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which obviously, as we've been tracking, has been seeing some hard times, not just because of their divorce, but sort of the wobbly nature that has created around the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, not to mention involvement in sort of unethical experimentation on Africans and et cetera, et cetera. But for Buffett to stand down and wrap it all up by topping $33 billion worth of...
you know what it feels like is like Warren Buffett going, I'm already old. Please don't kill me yet. Let me go on my own terms. I gave 33 billion. The ship is sinking. The BMG thing is sinking, and I actually talked about that a little bit too.
It's like no hard feelings.
Sure.
33 billion.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about that too in the last episode about careful what you wish for in terms of a teardown of the old system, because
right.
what they're trying to replace it with is part of the New World Order, build back
stakeholder
better.
Capitalism, baby.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, moving on here, we have just a real quick update from the cyber pandemic.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber pandemic.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
Wow, early Nephilim update. This is great.
I think we've been one of the only podcasts or shows out there that have been on. It's because of the Nephilim update that we've been on top of this, I guess, this ransomware thing. But I'm seeing it more and more, and I feel like it could be a setup for the big, big hack. So we'll see. This is entrepreneur.com. Nephilim, the hacker group that threatens the wealthiest.
Ooh.
Yeah. It says here, the term ransomware refers to cyber attacks that infect a computer or a network to extract the information it contains and require a payment for it to be returned, usually in cryptocurrency. As the digital world has grown, so has the crime that occurs in it. There are several groups that organize cyber attacks. Among them is Nephilim. This group uses methods that have been perfected by Persistent Attacks, APT, and tools like Cobalt Strike and Process Hacker to achieve their goal. Nephilim, which is interesting because the first time they say Nephilim, they spell it Nephilim, which is kind of the English version of it. The second time they spell it Nephilim. Nephilim is one of the ransomware groups that makes the most money since they only attack corporations, with a turnover of more than $1 billion. They apply double extortion, in which not only is the data stolen, but they threaten to disseminate it if they refuse to make the payment. According to a report by Trend Micro, the location of their victims is usually in America, although attacks have also been recorded on other continents. The data they have found show that there has been a substantial and stable growth in the information disseminated by the group. The main reason they share the collected information is believed to be so that their next victims will take their threats seriously. And that's it. That's the article.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's not much information on it, but they're slowly starting to mention it more and more in the news cycle. And this was really obscure. I think it was about 6 to 8 months ago when we first had a Nephilim update that included this Nephilim
hacker group
and ransomware stuff. So just, we're talking about a cyber pandemic, and one of the integral groups out there is called Nephilim. Creepy.
Yeah, it is interesting, and there's not much known about this Nephilim group, right? Everything we know we've put on the show, which is not a lot.
Yeah.
But of course, Nephilim, it's, and that's one of the strange things about our show and paying attention to these things, not just our show, but sort of the fringy worldview that we come from that includes things like the Nephilim already, and a laser focus on the cyber pandemic, Klaus Schwab, et cetera. And it's just an interesting connection. Like, what would the biblical Nephilim, what sort of messaging or what would be the influence of this hacker group to call themselves the Nephilim? Is it just a cool word that they found, or are they trying to play some role in the whole cyberscape here, moving into the Great Reset? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like there's definitely something here, but there's just not enough. There's not enough yet. Off the top of your head, or maybe or have something on it, have there been any notable hacks from these guys recently?
I recall. Well, they were mentioned next to Dark Side. Yeah, earlier. Let me see if they oh wow, this is the exact same story from ZDNet. Nephilim ransomware. Wow, they spell it very differently in different outlets as well. Yeah, I don't know that there are any they're not particularly noted for any big recent hacks that we are aware of. Now, of course, something could be going on that's just not being reported or publicly known. Even the last one, what story was it a couple episodes ago about what was it? I don't remember what it was, but basically the hack happened in January, and we were hearing about it in June. So we're not going to necessarily hear about it, and we won't hear about it unless it helps the narrative, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's one of those issues where unless it's big enough to help along with the Great Reset or the Build Back Better or whatever, it may not be mentioned, or at least a story that goes out publicly. It is interesting though. There's encryption files are given the .nephilim extension. That's very interesting.
That is interesting.
Talk about Genesis 6. This is sentinellabs.com. And it says, after infection, encrypted files are given the .nephilim or Nephilim extension. A similarly named ransom note is deposited in directories containing encrypted files, in some cases with Nephilim. The, quote, Nephilim-decrypt.txt will only be written to app data local virtual store. Location and name of the locally stored desktop wallpaper varies. In recent Nephilim infections, the alternate desktop image is written to temp with the file name lowercase g god.jpg or JPEG.
Whoa. Okay.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Maybe they listen to the show.
If they're looking for, if there are just some random hacker group and they're like, hey, who's actually talking about us? That would be us. We would be the ones talking about them.
They might have a Google alert set for Nephilim update. Hoping somebody is tracking their notorious hacks, and then they just find us.
Okay.
And so here we go. We're talking about you now, Nephilim.
attempting to
hackers.
negotiate or refusal to pay fall under the category of non-compliance. To date, 2 companies have been published on Nephilim's shaming website, ClearNet and Tor-based. It's worth noting that it doesn't say which 2. It's worth noting that initially all the companies listed on their site were oil and energy companies. However, between April 23rd and 27th of 2020, the group has added 3 additional victims on the site. One of these is another large oil and gas company, and the other 2 are classified as apparel and fashion and engineering and construction services. Yeah, I don't know. Because the thing with these ransomware attacks, they can get into any system and just sit there and wait. It's kind of a waiting game.
Right, yeah.
So who knows how infiltrated they are into the biggest, databases or whatever. So it's just, I don't know, man. Just one of those things you gotta. Keep an eye out for.
We'll keep the Nephilim update, whether it's on these ancient hybrids of angel and man or some hackers. We'll see what they're up to.
And maybe they're one and the same.
Who knows? Dun dun dun. All right. Well, let's check in on some aliens real quick.
Aliens. Where are the aliens?
Okay, so we know that the Pentagon papers came out. I think it was on the same day as last show, Friday. But let's check in with the sun.co.uk, see what they got to say about it. Something is out there. Pentagon UFO report is, quote, complete whitewash, and, quote, proves cover-up as it fails to rule out aliens, says conspiracy theorists. That was the headline, by the way. Here's the article. The U.S. government this week admitted they could not explain 144 sightings of flying objects spotted since 2004. In the much anticipated document, officials said that despite not finding any evidence the UFOs filmed by Navy pilots were aliens, that, quote, explanation can't be definitively ruled out. Following the release of the report, alien conspiracy theorists have slammed the U.S. government for allegedly hiding the truth from the public.
Haven't they been doing that for decades?
What else is new?
Oh, gosh.
Business as usual, Gons. The Mirror spoke to several people near the Area 51's base in Nevada, where many people believe American authorities are hiding spacecrafts from another planet. Misty Ingram, 40, of the Alien Research Center located near the base, said, quote, they know full well what is out there, but they refuse to tell us the truth. Quote, it's a complete whitewash. They want to feed us information bit by bit to walk us into the water gradually so as not to spark hysteria. Area 51 has been at the center of UFO conspiracy theories for decades, with alien enthusiasts believing the alleged wreckage from the infamous Roswell incident is stored there. On July 8th, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield in New Mexico distributed a press release claiming they had recovered the remains of a flying disc which had crashed in the desert. Unsurprisingly, the news made headlines across the country, yet the very next day, the U.S. Army backtracked and released a second statement claiming the recovered object was actually a weather balloon. A late relative of Misty, whose family are originally from the UK, worked at the top secret Area 51. Misty claims he once hinted he believed in life outside our planet. Okay.
Wow.
She said, quote, he would never confirm if asked directly, but said he would have to kill us if he did. Good joke. I guess it's like her dad or something, or relative. While the government does not disclose what operations take place at the base, it is believed the military test experimental aircraft there, such as the futuristic-looking stealth bomber, which was developed in the 1970s. They're just kind of talk about alien stuff there. Let's see here. Oh, they mention alien stock, from 2019. They can't stop us all. The Storm Area 51 thing, which turned into a music festival in Rachel, Nevada there. That is it. I don't think I need to read any more of this. They're just saying everybody's mad. We're mad and we don't believe them.
I understand the reason they would be upset, because ultimately this whole Pentagon thing was, as I mentioned in the last episode when it was breaking,
total bust.
It was not just a bust, but it was meant to be put out there for the DoD to get more funding and to expand their surveillance apparatus. So it's kind of like, oh, hey, people out there, you want to see actual more information on UFOs? Well, give us more money and give us better technology to spot these things and record them. So
that was the most insulting part about it, really, was, yes, there might be aliens, but we just have to do more research. We'll need all this money from the black budget, and we're not going to tell you what we do with it. After months of hype, I mean, the media hype on this report was incredible, and it came out, it was 9 pages. It wasn't like, it was the shortest report that the government had ever created. A 9-page report just saying, yeah, there's something out there. I mean, maybe it's the Russians, maybe it's not. We don't know, but if only we had more taxpayer dollars.
Why don't they just print more money?
I think maybe that might have been the thing. You hype it up. You get it out there. You make the whole, the whole country just obsess over aliens. Look, and this was not just like news reports. It was not just them saying we're going to do every podcast, especially popular podcast. I mean, you're talking about Joe Rogan. You're talking about Russell Brand. You're talking, all these podcast celebrities had multiple UFO-centered episodes over the past few months because they're trying to build up to this big reveal. Yeah. And it gets revealed as 9 pages and is absolutely nothing we haven't heard before. The only, I guess, actually, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The only
silver lining
is that technically, yes, the government admitted that it could be from out of this world, which they haven't technically put on record before. So that's what this report did do, was take one step to the government saying, yes, it could be extraterrestrial or something. But other than that, it just got everybody hyped up for no reason. But I don't know, man. Who knows? Wasn't there supposed to be something in late July as well?
I don't know, but they asked Biden about the DOD asked Biden about more money.
Can't wait to hear this.
And Biden said,
need time.
Yes, need time. Always need more time. Biden, you don't have that much time left, man. I don't know.
Give me a break.
All right. Well, there you go. People are upset about the Pentagon UFO report.
Yeah, and there was an RT op-ed that I want to read for everybody here, and falls under aliens, but it's a good lead-in into the whole Waccine segment of the episode here. Mm-hmm. This was published on RT.com. From the Pandemic to Aliens, the Evolutionary Narrative Towards Global Order. Written by Dr. Matthew Mavic, a Malaysian expert on risk foresight and governance. So let's see what he says here. The reaction to COVID has shown that the unity through crisis model of the global ruling class has backfired. As talk of UFOs intensifies, are they now hoping that mankind can be unified by an extraterrestrial threat? When enforced narratives fail, abrupt U-turns are inevitable. The Global Ministry of Truth is now openly promoting the Wuhan Lab Leak theory when not savaging the darlings of yesteryear's coronapocalypse. One such fall guy is the British mathematical epidemiologist Professor Neil Ferguson, whose COVID-19 contagion model paralleled the 3.5-hour pandemic simulation exercise called Event 201 in October 2019. Up to 65 million people were projected to die from this contagion. Unsurprisingly, a common denominator between both projections was the omnipresent Microsoft, which helped tidy up Ferguson's code. Experts and politicians the world over naturally, quote, listened to the science, mirroring a teenager's hysterics over another supposedly existential issue. Now, however, shadow-banned links are emerging from Google's search limbo to inform us that Ferguson's code was in fact, quote, a buggy mess that looked, quote, more like a bowl of angel hair pasta than a finely tuned piece of programming, end quote, according to one data expert. This is what our endless lockdowns and coercive vaccination programs were based on. The unity through crisis model of the ruling class is backfiring, and the credibility of their political marionettes is plumbing to new depths. The World Economic Forum's prophesied cyberpandemic, if it ever transpires, will only serve to harden growing public skepticism. Besides, such an event will only prove that the building blocks of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset were in fact built on the Pastafarian codes of big tech. Blaming Russian or Chinese boogeymen may not work anymore.
Did it just reference Pastafarianism?
Oh, yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Well, he's talking about the bowl of angel hair pasta.
Okay, got
buggy
it.
mess of
Got
a
it.
code, yeah.
Well, that's interesting because Pastafarianism is the isn't that the name for the satirical religion of the flying spaghetti monster?
I think that, yes. I think it's referencing both as like a basically a pie in the sky type of
Got it. Okay,
nonsense.
okay.
It is not just our cyber systems that are wobbling on dodgy foundations. Our entire global systems are primed for a mighty fall. Instead of unity, manifold planetary crisis are leading to social fissures of an unprecedented proportion. Mankind can no longer be unified through internally generated crises. The Great Reset project needs to be salvaged by something more exogenous, perhaps something extraterrestrial? Coincidentally, the mainstream narrative is veering in that direction. Many years ago, the author had gamed out two interlinked scenarios that can engender global order in an elitist-induced chaos. We will now delve into that bizarro world. The build-up to the unclassified Pentagon report on unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, the new euphemism for extraterrestrials, ETs, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs, was preceded by a confusing raft of mainstream admissions over their existence. During a late-night show in May, former President Barack Obama quipped that when it comes to aliens, there are some things I just can't tell you on air, before confirming that there were indeed sightings of physics-defying objects in the sky. The admission was straddled by more bizarre claims, according to Luis Elizondo, former director of the U.S. military's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Extraterrestrials are fascinated by Earthling nuclear technologies, in spite of the Chernobyl, Fukushima, and 3 Mile Island disasters. Now, hold that thought for a second. Is it logical for aliens to waste galactic time, travel, and resources to probe the secrets of our primitive nuclear capabilities? We do not even have a prototype for a nuclear-powered mission to Mars, much less the ability to resolve obstacles associated with fusion and pebble bed reactors. Elizondo estimates that current UFO technologies could be, quote, anywhere between 50 to 1,000 years ahead of us. In technological terms, that is a widely guesstimate timeline that spans aeons between the supersonic and Star Trek epochs. Besides, they seemed light years ahead of us when the first UFO sightings were documented nearly a century ago. This is now mainstream study. While vaccine skeptics are viciously trolled and censored as conspiracy theorists on terra firma, no such constraints are placed on cartoonish claims that a galactic federation of extraterrestrials are working overtime for the ultimate good of mankind. General Haim Eshed, a former head of Israel's military space division, even claimed that the U.S. and Israeli governments have been roped in for their interstellar project. According to the general, the aliens have, quote, signed a contract with us to experiment here, end quote. But Earthlings should not be worried, as ETs are merely looking to enlist them as, quote, helpers in the quest to, quote, understand the universe. And all these things we've covered over the many episodes that we've done. Mm-hmm. One is hard-pressed to understand how the Israeli government can trust aliens even as it wars with its immediate neighbors. Perhaps Eshed had anticipated this question with the following rationale. Quote, they want to make us sane and understanding first. They waited until today for humanity to evolve and reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are, end quote. If Eshed had been discerning the signs, it would have been clear that, quote, sanity and the, quote, U.S. government no longer gelled in the same sentence. However, for the express purpose of scenario simulation, let us take these revelations at face value. Questions arise, beginning with those of a comedic nature. Just which Harvard legal eagle was responsible for drafting this binding contract with aliens when he was not perfecting the finer points of critical race theory and the color-coded taxonomy of mankind?
Whoa.
Which court will act as the arbiter? Why are ETs seeking the help of a fractured primitive species to, quote, understand the universe if their own technologies are light years ahead? The choice of the United States as a galactic partner also casts these supposed aliens into a very poor light. Why did these benevolent entities remain silent when the U.S. was warring incessantly against much of mankind? Did ETs concur that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction? Did they throw their weight behind the U.S. support? U.S.'s support of the genocidal Khmer Rouge regime in the 1970s and the Free Syrian Army decades later? It is essential for humans to evolve, purify, and enlighten themselves. Is it essential for humans to evolve, purify, and enlighten themselves through bloodletting and genocide? This is the Darwinian worldview of Adolf Hitler. If there is an iota of truth, I know, he goes in hard.
It's hard, dude.
If there's an iota of truth to Eshed's claims, then one must infer that the entities he invoked are not benign. Overall, mainstream admissions such as these read like a poor-written sci-fi plot. They also contradict the fringe theory that the human evolution was expedited by ET tinkering with human DNA, giving rise to legends of gods in various religions. If they possessed such capabilities millions of years ago as per a conventional evolutionary timeline, then the cure for COVID-19 would have been delivered yesterday. It's unlikely, this is almost done here, it's unlikely the UFO report will unify mankind against an extraterrestrial other, as many globalists secretly hope. Despite a USA Today headline which reads, quote, UFOs have done what COVID-19 never has. Unite Republicans and Democrats in Congress. Likewise, any physical manifestation of aliens down the line may be instinctively viewed as a machination of global elitists and their big tech partners. There is, however, a particularly binary set of circumstances under which alien manifestations could be used to coerce global unity. Order out of chaos. While the Davos crowd works towards a great reset or a new world order or whatever, there is just one niggling problem. Nervous saying that word. Hardly any of them possesses a scintilla of credibility anymore. Their sole accomplishment thus far has been the enrichment of the top 0.001% at the expense of a growing horde of renters. These sociopaths even have the gall to declare that we, quote, will still be happy with our serfdom by 2030. Again, I'm telling you, this guy listens to our show. There's therefore...
this is an op-ed on RT?
Yeah, it's crazy. It is therefore logical to assume that any great reset would be inalienably contingent on the denunciation and punishment of its very architects. It would be a highly placating outcome for the vast disenfranchised masses that have been reeling from years of Pastafarian technological promises, lockdown regimes, and woke propaganda. A series of incriminating leaks may emerge to expose the culprits in flagrante delicto. This may include irrefutable evidences of rigged financial markets, pandemic shenanigans, and literal skeletons in the closet. Is it a coincidence that the global elite are now feverishly censoring free speech under the guise of combating fake news? They will need total panoptic control by 2030, and they are running out of time. The fight back against the Great Reset will be recast as a populist revolution to undo all the wrongs done against humanity. The chorus of "Never Again" may ring out once more, this time without tribal boundaries. Out of this populist cauldron may emerge a great unifier, a world leader who will unite mankind and restore our broken societies under a brand new global order, perhaps in concert with the alleged help of otherworldly entities. Let's face it, a desperate generation is a gullible one. If this scenario sounds preposterous, bear in mind that it broadly resonates with biblical end times eschatology. Otherwise, it made little sense for Pope Francis to declare that he was willing to baptize aliens when the moment arrives. Baptism is the formal act of initiation into the Christian faith, an act of believing in the ultimate salvation of all men, anthropos in the original Greek of 1 Timothy 4:10 and similar verses. Anthropos solely refers to humans, not extraterrestrial entities. Is the Pope toying with the idea of a new universal religion alongside a new universal society? This hybrid, quote, plan of universal salvation is somewhat echoed in Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy. In Asimov's series, two separate galactic civilizations were established for the long-term survivability of mankind. The one based on science and technology ultimately failed. The other, based on psychic wizardry, succeeded. Wouldn't it be more potent to combine both paradigms if this were possible? At the end of the day, though, current mainstream UAP chatter may be directed by a very down-to-earth agenda. As the Intelligencer reports, quote, perhaps wasting over $1.6 trillion on the disastrous F-35, spending over $2.26 trillion on the war in Afghanistan, and facing a flat budget for 2021, the Pentagon simply wants a flashy reason to demand more money, end quote. Aliens or not, global order cannot be accomplished without an omnipotent and omniscient military. Beam the budget up, Scotty. There you go.
Wow. Does this mean that we're Russian propaganda?
Well, maybe that's the setup for people like us.
It does feel a little bit like a setup, huh? I'm not saying he nailed every point of sort of the ethos we work off here, but definitely sounds like he could be a listener. But yeah, the fact that it's on RT, which sort of broadly gets the label of Russian propaganda, yeah, maybe that's sort of the play here. It's like, look at this guy.
The part that surprised me the most was the idea that, based on all of the corruption that's exposed, will come a unification that will ultimately be what their ultimate goal was, Yeah. So coming out of the populist movement, which has been kind of our take on some of the exposing of everything going on anyway. So
yeah, there's a couple people asking for the link to that article. Remember, after every show, when the podcast gets posted after the live show, all articles and links will be available at CanaryCry.Talk.com on the most recent show notes post there. So just tune in about an hour after the show and you can get all the links and more. Okay, well, should we move on into the Waccine updates?
Waccine.
A pandemic special.
Okay, just going to be checking in on some of the latest with the Waccine and COVID stuff across the world. Guns, I threw a little link in there to a video on Twitter I just wanted to draw our attention to real quick.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and let's pull this up here. This is from a user. I found it during the show, so I've not been able to verify anything, but this is from Anthea. And the tweet says, Canadian civilians blocking the only entrance to the province, demanding to search 18-wheelers to make sure no vaccines enter the province. And there's this video here of some Canadians stopping trucks on the road. Now, you might be tempted to maybe imagine like something you'd see in America with like a Antifa or Black Lives Matter violent raid on truckers. This is not the case, at least in this video. But that's, I like to keep in touch. I like to keep my fingers on the pulse of the Canada situation. We've got a lot of great Canadian listeners, and some of the moves that the Canadians are willing to take against the tyrannical movements of their government have been pretty interesting. So I just wanted to bring this on here. There's a lady, I have not listened to the whole video with the audio, so I'm not sure if there's any, I don't know, adult language or anything, but what do you think? Should we take a look at it?
I've been playing it in the background here for those watching. We can play with audio.
Yeah, I don't know. The second half has some lady yelling something, but just wanted to touch base on that video. Let everybody know that I see it.
Let's give it a go here.
Okay.
Okay, there's a car backed up in front of a big rig.
Would the news people please go live?
So we're being asked to let a vaccine truck through because vaccines are important. But yet if we're vaccinated, we aren't allowed to travel. So how are the vaccines important? No vax trucks past this point.
Woo! She's really passionate.
No vax trucks past this point. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, somebody made a point in the chat. How bad could Canadian adult language even be?
That's true.
All right, so that's happening. There is also this article from CBS. Oh, it's not an article. Well, it is an article, but we also have a clip. You want to play that?
Yeah, a couple clips. The headline of the article from CBS News, Arkansas governor says final FDA approval of COVID-19 vaccine would help fight hesitancy. So here's a couple clips here from that.
One of the states with the lowest vaccination rates in the country is Arkansas. Joining us from Little Rock is Governor Asa Hutchinson. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, John. Good to be with you.
Thank you for being with us. The University of Arkansas Medical Sciences had to reopen its COVID wing, and the CEO there said, we have seen a 300% increase in the numbers of patients hospitalized. What's going on?
Well, those that are being hospitalized are those that have not been vaccinated. And what you see in Arkansas, and that probably replicates some of what you see across the country, is that in March and April, whenever we were struggling with vaccine supplies, we started getting our vaccines out there. You saw our cases go down dramatically. And when our cases went down, the demand for vaccines was reduced as well. And so what you have is that people started feeling comfortable. People saw the cases, the hospitalizations down, and so the urgency of getting the vaccine slowed down. We've got to make sure that we do everything we can to get the word out, which we have. We've used incentives that have not been very successful. We've obviously done marketing for our vaccines. We're educating, doing everything that we can. And we're up to, a 50% of adults already are vaccinated, but we've got to get that higher. We're doing everything we can to encourage that. And I think if incentives don't work, reality will. And as you see the hospitalizations go up, the cases go up, I think you'll see the vaccination rate increase as well.
Yeah, you said a lot in there, but yeah, you pointed out the first thing, which is that people that are in hospitals and are getting infected
you said all of them, you said, which is not true. There's
true.
Plenty of breakthrough cases, especially with the Delta variant shenanigans.
And then he admitted that they've done a whole campaign and it hasn't gone well. Yes, it has not gone well, I don't think. It's too cringe, a lot of it.
And notice how they talk about, or he mentions that the COVID cases or hospitalizations, I forget which one he actually mentions, have been up 300%. Just what are the numbers? Because if it was one and now it's 3 people, 300% is not that big a deal. What are the actual numbers?
Did he say 300 or 30?
He said 300%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is like, that's fine. It sounds like a big, scary number, but what are the actual numbers of hospitalizations?
There were 3 people and now there are 9.
Yeah,
Shut it down.
Shut her down.
Well, that's how it is in Australia. There's like 1 person infected and they're like, lockdown again.
Oh, yeah. They shut down the whole province because one guy has an infection. It's gnarly.
So here's the other clip here. This is where he talks about this one's probably more egregious because of what he says will help, more people get the jab. There is
vaccine hesitancy. Part of it is we'll just delay it, but the part that you're most concerned about are those that don't believe in the efficacy of it. They believe in the conspiracy theories. Part of it is just the nature of humans that unless they are absolutely convinced, there is that vaccine hesitancy. One of the challenges was the fact that this is under FDA emergency use authorization, and so we need to get that research completed so it can be final approval. I think that will help. Well, whenever they see emergency use authorization, that then they say, well, they haven't made a final approval, they haven't got all the research completed that is needed on there, they want to do more study. And so it was approved as emergency use. And so for that reason, you can't mandate it. We don't mandate it in Arkansas. We have to rely upon the education. And part of that is, even though there is a minor level of risk with the vaccine, the risk is so much greater if you get COVID. And that's what we're seeing now. One person that I am familiar with in terms of the story, they mocked the vaccine. They ultimately got COVID. They're on a respirator now, and their life is in jeopardy. That's what we've got to continue to educate and realize lives are at stake to encourage the vaccine.
Who's the they he's talking about there? I missed it. It just clicked in when I heard him talk about the respirator. But is that a hypothetical person he is making up, or was he referencing an actual
I think
case?
he was referencing someone he knew. So it could be made up. He didn't mention any names.
Yeah, that sounds like a made up thing. But
yeah.
I mean, not that it's impossible, but it's just kind of like, okay. I love the description of like these crazy anti-vaxxers. They want research to be completed. Can you
that's
believe
what I was
it?
going to point out.
They want the science to be done, and they want research. These crazy hesitancers.
Well, it's funny because I think while he's talking, I think he realized that, oh, wait, this is making it sound like the people that have gotten it, it's not really good on them because they were experimented on. And also, we didn't have all the information before we rolled it out.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because he started kind of rambling. He's kind of rambling, say a lot of things so that the main thing gets kind of lost in the mix. Let me tell you the story about a guy I know. Like, it's just, I don't know. The whole thing is disgusting. But this is a Republican in Arkansas there, so.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They've worked very hard to make the vaccine issue not political. Obviously, in the first months of the vaccine, it was highly politicized, especially from the media. They loved talking about all these Republicans not getting vaccinated, and all that did was strengthen the position of people not getting vaccinated. And we tracked this as it was happening as well, especially with the language change from anti-vax to vaccine hesitant and the softening of how to talk about the vaccine hesitant. They even went specifically into conversations over and over, not in one report. The mainstream narrative went from, we don't need to be mean to the vaccine hesitant. There's lots of reasons to be vaccine hesitant, and that's okay. But we need to give them better information.
Yeah, they keep talking about that.
All the while admitting that this science is not complete. I mean, here's the thing. When the trials are complete in 2022 or 23, whenever they're actually going to be done, when they can give it full approval, there will be a contingent of people who will be satisfied once the trials are completely done, who are not satisfied right now. So, I mean, he's not wrong in that case, but it's just hilarious to watch these people talk circles around themselves about how these crazy anti-vaxxers want good science.
I know. It was really interesting, too, because I didn't clip it, but after this is like a 7-minute interview, and they go through the first 5 minutes is all about the vaccine and the whole thing you just saw there. And then the guy who's interviewing pivots is kind of a similar thing. And apparently one of the major highways into and out of Arkansas is down. And he praised the Senate and everything for coming up with the infrastructure bill. It was like, oh, really? Like, as part of the COVID discussion, you're going to talk about the Great Reset, Build Back Better, and praising the current administration.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that.
Yeah, I know. It's just ridiculous. I didn't include it because it's not worth it. But
yeah,
just kind of give away his loyalties, I suppose.
Okay. We got in with the Wall Street Journal here.
Fine.
Let me see if I need to hack the paywall. No, I think
I already did.
So, I got it here.
Okay.
Okay, this is coming from the Wall Street Journal, WSJ.com. The headline, COVID-19 killed 26 Indonesian doctors in June. At least 10 had taken China's Sinovac vaccine. And it reads like this. At least 10 of the 26 doctors in Indonesia who died from COVID-19 this month had received both doses of the vaccine developed by Sinovac Biotech Ltd, a medical association said, raising questions about the Chinese-made shot that is being used in many parts of the developing world. The Indonesian Medical Association's COVID-19 mitigation group is still working to verify the vaccination status of the 16 others. Well, said Dr. Adibukumaidi, who leads the group. They're still working to verify. So 10 died, and they had the Chinese vaccination, but this says they're still verifying the 16 others. So what they're saying is the 10 that they have verified all died and had been vaccinated. They don't know about the others. They just don't know. They haven't verified. Wow, weird. According to the group's latest figures, over a 5-month period, at least 20 doctors who were fully inoculated with Sinovac's vaccine died from COVID-19, accounting for more than a fifth of the total fatalities among doctors during that time span. The toll could rise further in the coming weeks as the country battles a surge of infections and hospitals across the archipelago fill up. Epidemiologists say the deaths need to be properly investigated to determine whether factors such as poor hospital care or chronic underlying illnesses played a major role. They also say more data is needed, including on how many vaccinated doctors overall were infected with COVID-19, which Indonesia's health ministry says it isn't tracking. Yeah, why would you track that? That's crazy.
We need more info that we didn't track, but
we need info that doesn't exist. Around 90% of Indonesian doctors, roughly 160,000 in all, have been vaccinated with Sinovac's shot, according to the Medical Association. So the vaccinated doctors who died are only a tiny percentage of the total. Remember, you got to remember that.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Even when a bunch of the doctors die, it's just a little bit of doctors. It's not all the doctors. That some fully vaccinated Indonesian doctors died from COVID-19 isn't necessarily surprising, said Paul Hunter. No kidding. A professor of medicine at the University of East Anglia in the UK. A combination of factors was likely at play, he said, including that the Sinovac vaccine was, quote, probably not as effective as a vaccine as most of the other vaccines that are on the market.
Burn.
Yeah.
China burn.
Also, that word probably, he's just spitballing. He doesn't have data. He's just like the Wall Street Journal calls up. I don't know, probably not as effective as the other ones. It's a Chinese vaccine. What do you expect? And Indonesian hospitals don't always have the same machinery and capacity to handle severe cases as hospitals in countries with stronger healthcare systems. Indonesia is relying heavily on the Sinovac vaccine. The shot is approved by the World Health Organization for emergency use, but wide-ranging efficacy levels from different clinical trials and a lack of transparency about the data have led to concerns among some public health experts about the degree of protection it provides, as well as how long the protection lasts. Its efficacy in preventing symptomatic infection was as low as around 50% in a study from Brazil, though the vaccine has shown higher efficacy in preventing severe COVID-19 cases. Authorities in Chile said in April the shot was 80% effective against death from COVID-19 2 weeks after a second dose. Indonesian authorities said last month that a retrospective study comparing how vaccinated and unvaccinated doctors in the capital, Jakarta, had fared against COVID-19 showed Sinovac's shot was highly effective in preventing death. The study was conducted before the current wave of infections, which is being driven in part by the highly transmissible Delta variant of the virus, which contributed to a devastating surge in India. It isn't known how many doctors who died in Indonesia this month were infected with that strain. Apparently, they don't do a whole lot of tracking.
They don't track anything, it looks like.
We're really not sure about anything. A government spokeswoman said the individual circumstances of the doctor's death needed to be investigated to draw conclusions about the vaccine. In some hard-hit areas of the country, such as Kudus in central Java, most of the several hundred vaccinated healthcare workers who were infected with COVID-19 had mild symptoms and made quick recoveries, the spokeswoman Siti Nadia Tarmizi said. Quote, "It really can't be said that Sinovac isn't ideal." It really can't be said that Sinovac isn't ideal.
That means they're saying it is ideal.
So Sinovac is ideal, she's saying.
All right. That's a weird way to put it.
Well, the article wraps up here in a second. Data gathered by the Medical Association shows the death toll among doctors is... It's weird that she's calling it ideal when 10 doctors have died after being vaccinated, and possibly another 16 more. Data gathered by the Medical Association shows the death toll among doctors is down from the country's last surge in December and January, when vaccinations had just begun, and around 60 doctors died in each of the 2 months from COVID-19. So far in June, 26 doctors have died. And let's see, talks about another city.
Go to the last paragraph there.
Last one. Yeah, we'll finish it up here. The deaths should prompt authorities to consider booster shots. There it is.
Hey, they died. Well, what do? More shots.
More shots. The deaths should prompt authorities to consider booster shots, said Jin Dong Yan, a professor of molecular virology at the University of Hong Kong. Medical workers in Indonesia should be given another dose of Sinovac's vaccine or of a U.S.-developed shot to ensure stronger protection, he said. Dr. Adib of the Indonesian Medical Association's COVID-19 mitigation unit also said booster shots may be necessary, adding, quote, "We don't know how long the antibodies last. Booster shots forever."
Booster. Part of the interesting thing about this is every country is relying on medical authorities to, do what they do. And in this case, the part that stood out to me is the World Health Organization having emergency, the emergency, similar to what we have here, authorization.
Yeah.
Kind of like how the FDA did in America.
Mm-hmm.
The World Health Organization did for Singapore. And so there's no consensus, but then the tyrannical leaders of science are like, yes, we declare. And they have all these people take shots, and when people die, it's like, well, still better than nothing.
We need more shots.
More shots. I don't know, man. This thing is out of control. And it is true. I think it's exposing a problem with authority when it comes to science. And it's hopefully people will wake up to it. And
well, and it's also interesting, too, in the sort of developing Cold War with China, where they're sort of already in the hot seat about the origin of the virus, and now they're making billions of dollars selling shoddy vaccines to developing countries. It's just not a good look.
Yeah. Well, we were surprised, or at least I was surprised, that Israel pushed out Bibi. We have a new leader there. And what does he say? According to the BenningtonBanner.com, the latest, Israel's new leader urges youth to get vaccinated. Oh, more of the same.
Gotta do it.
Jerusalem, Israel's new prime minister, is urging the country's youth to get vaccinated as coronavirus case numbers have crept up in recent days due to a localized outbreak of the Delta variant. Naftali Bennett's comments came at a meeting of the government Sunday in Jerusalem. Quote, "We don't want to impose any restrictions, not on parties, on trips, or anything like that. But specifically because of this, if you don't want restrictions, go get vaccinated today. Talk to your parents and get vaccinated," he said. That's like super doublespeak, isn't it? Like we don't want to lock you down, but if you don't want to get locked down, go get vaccinated. We can't force you. But
it's the same language that we've seen in the U.S. and the U.K. of like, you can get your freedoms back once you are vaccinated. Just do it, and you can be free again. It's like any freedom that I need to earn with a vaccine is not a freedom.
Yeah. Israel reinstated a mask mandate indoors. Oh no, amid a rise in new infections in the past week. Israel's Health Ministry of Truth recorded 113 new coronavirus cases Saturday. The Prime Minister also says the government has appointed a special director in charge of managing the country's border crossings, with particular emphasis on Israel's main international airport and preventing the spread of the coronavirus and other diseases. Bennett said the appointment of Roni Numa, a former Army general, aims to step up the country's efforts, quote, to prevent the entry of this virus and variants and other future viruses from around the world into Israel. Many of the new cases reported in the past week were traced to individuals who had arrived from abroad. Very convenient there that they needed to get to work, right? They needed something to do, so they're like, well, the virus is still out there, the variant. But more of the same, it seems, from this new leader.
Yeah, well, that's not necessarily surprising. I mean, Bibi was pro-vax too.
I know.
That's yeah. All right. Well, it's not just Israel. Of course, we got to check in with the U.S.
Oh, no.
And this is coming from Bangor Daily News. What is Bangor Daily News?
I don't know, but it's a AP article. So.
It is, yes. So this is mirrored from the Associated Press. The headline is, as variant rises, vaccine plan targets movable middle guns. This is a term that's popping up, the movable middle.
Are we the movable middle or no? Are we?
I don't know. I don't think so. Let's find out. Let's see what the movable middle is. It goes like this. Thrown off stride to reach its COVID-19 vaccination goal, the Biden administration is sending A-list officials across the country, devising ads for niche markets. Well, we are niche markets, cons, and enlisting community organizers to persuade unvaccinated people to get a shot. That word persuade there, it just makes me a little uncomfortable that that's the word they chose, but okay. The strategy has the trappings of a political campaign. Again, as we battle to depoliticize the vaccine, we'll have a political campaign to get people vaccinated. The strategy has the trappings of a political campaign, complete with data crunching to identify groups that can be won over. But the message is about public health, not ideology. The focus is a group health officials term the, quote, movable middle. Some 55 million unvaccinated adults seen as persuadable, many of them under 30. Quote, we're not just going to do the mass vaccination sites, said Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra. Quote, it's door to door. It's movable clinics. We're doing vaccinations at church, the PTA meeting, the barber shop, the grocery store.
When I was reading this, I was thinking, am I just gonna see it when I just go out, run errands? There's gonna be a vaccine thing here.
It'll be like an ambulance type thing, or a windowless white van creeping around your neighborhood, and you just have to walk up.
It used to be,
citizen.
It used to be, you walking out of a store and it's like, hey, you want to support this child whatever thing, and then you'd say, oh, no thanks. But now it's going to be, are you vaccinated?
Child whatever. You mean Save the Whales people?
Just whatever. There's all kinds of stuff out there. I mean, the same people or the same places where the Girl Scouts are selling Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, which again is strange because I don't think you can legally go around asking people if they're vaccinated or not. So I'm not sure this door-to-door, have you been vaccinated, citizen? We identify you as the movable middle. We have crunched the numbers, and you are in the persuadable group.
And if they ask, I'll just say, yeah, because, I have gotten some, like mumps vaccine and stuff when I was born.
We've all been vaccinated against something. The article continues. Officials have seized on a compelling new talking point.
Ooh.
Okay. They've seized on this compelling new talking point. This is for the movable middle. Let's see what they say.
Courtesy of the
coronavirus. The potent Delta variant.
Oh.
They've seized upon the compelling new talking point.
Oh, thank you, coronavirus, for providing us a new talking point.
Thank you for the Delta variant.
So you just really just
persuade these movable sheep.
We didn't know what to do with the movable middle, but you gifted us with this.
Yes,
Delta variant.
So convenient,
like manna from heaven.
The potent Delta variant that has ravaged India is spreading here, now accounting for about 1 in 5 virus samples genetically decoded in the U.S. Again, notice that stat. They're just saying it's 1 in 5 of the samples that they've genetically decoded.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we've heard all sorts of different stats, like it's 20% of all cases, it's this, it's that. But this is just saying it's 1 out of 5 of the samples we've decoded. All right. The more transmissible mutation has gained a foothold in Mountain West and Heartland states. Many of those infected are young and unvaccinated. The White House, many of them are vaccinated and also old, so I'm not sure what you mean by that. The White House has lent its top names to the vaccine push. President Joe Biden visited a mobile vaccination site in Raleigh, North Carolina on Thursday. Earlier in the day, First Lady Jill Biden held the hand of a woman at a drive-through vaccination site in Kissimmee, Florida. Doug Emhoff, the husband of Vice President Kamala Harris, has racked up thousands of frequent flyer miles visiting at least 18 or 19 states by his count. Okay. The administration also... Nobody cares about this guy. He can't even remember how many states he's been to. The administration also has recruited celebrities and athletes. Oh, good, because we all trust what they have to say, including country music star Brad Paisley and the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team. It has teamed up with Twitch and Riot Games to reach online gamers, with Panera and Chipotle to offer free food to those getting a shot.
Manna from heaven.
Or
the corporate leaders, corporate heavens.
The message, as Surgeon General Vivek Murthy put it, quote, "If you are vaccinated, you are protected. If you are not, the threat of variants is real and growing."
Sorry.
It's really shameless. It's really shameless.
I shouldn't laugh. It's, sorry. Sorry, Susan.
Well, I mean, and it's also just wrong. If you are vaccinated, there are thousands of breakthrough cases. People are still getting very sick with COVID, even though they're vaccinated, but that's fine. It's unclear. I mean, just according to the CDC, if you believe what they have to say, it's unclear how well the levers of persuasion are functioning. Vaccination rates have dropped below 1 million a day, and there's no sign yet of a turnaround. The administration has acknowledged that it will fall short of its goal of having 70% of adults vaccinated by July 4th. At this point, about 170 million American adults have received at least one vaccine dose, representing roughly 2/3 of those 18 and older. An Associated Press analysis suggests that Biden's self-imposed goal may not be reached until late July at current rates of vaccination. Analysts at HHS have developed a rough sketch of those in the movable middle. Okay, guys.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Are you in the movable middle? They tend to be younger, mainly 18 through 29.
Hey, I'm not there. We're gone.
Most are not college educated.
Oh, well.
Interesting.
Are you?
Yes.
Are they trying to say the unvaxxed are uneducated? I think that's what they're trying to say.
Well, not only the unvaxxed, but the persuadable. The persuadable,
right. This is the persuadable
middle.
Ones. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the movable middle. The persuadables are young and not college educated, and political independents predominate. Black and Latino adults are more likely to fall in this category than people of other backgrounds.
Racist. Come on. This is like, wow. Think about the boardroom there at the HHS, sitting there going, well, who is the movable middle? Who
can we persuade?
Who can we target?
Uneducated blacks and Latinos.
The 18 to 29. That is ridiculous. That's like all the things.
Ageist,
racist, ageist, sexist. Come on.
Yeah. It can be a hard sell after Jill Biden's visit to Mississippi earlier in the week. Gulf Coast resident Cherie Bardwell was unimpressed.
Yeah, no kidding.
Unimpressed of Jill Biden. She said Biden's comment that vaccines might feel like a miracle, but there's no faith required, sounded to her like a dig at people with Christian beliefs. Yeah. Quote, she said, shots are miracles that don't require faith. The Bible says just live by faith, said Bardwell, who follows news about the First Lady's visit. Bardwell said both she and her husband had COVID-19 and she was hospitalized. Quote, my thoughts are, if you've already had the coronavirus, why do you need the vaccine? Asked Bardwell. Quote, if the vaccine was the miracle, then why are you still at risk of contracting the virus after receiving the shot? It just doesn't make sense to me. Doctors advise recovered patients to get vaccinated so as to maintain protection.
Do not address comments, even though they are legitimate concerns.
Yeah. Play talking point here. Privately, some White House officials fret that the persuadable universe may be shrinking.
It's its own universe.
Yeah. Early success with vaccination has paradoxically made things more difficult. Now that cases and deaths have dropped to levels not seen since the onset of the pandemic, officials say it's become harder to convince Americans of the urgency of getting a shot. Yeah, because maybe it's not that urgent anymore. Particularly younger people who already knew they were at low risk of serious complications. There's quite, we'll finish it out here. Biden officials says they recognize that it's going to take more than celebrity pitches to close the deal. In Knoxville, Tennessee, a retired hospice and home care administrator has become a volunteer COVID-19 response organizer in the Black community. Cynthia Finch is one of many around the country to whom federal health officials have turned as, quote, trusted messengers. Finch dubbed her local vaccine strategy the 3 V's. She started with what she calls vaccine partners, such as local hospitals and universities, to create a framework. Then she organized volunteers to give shots by working with professional groups, including a Black nursing sorority. Finally, she reached out to pastors and community organizers to provide venues where people could come together to get their vaccines. Finch estimates these efforts have led to thousands of people getting fully vaccinated. She estimates. Again, where's the tracking, people? She said she is used to dealing with skepticism, particularly given the history of substandard care in minority communities and the use of Black patients in medical experiments without their consent. She tries to listen carefully to objections and concerns and respond with factual information that's on point. Quote, when you start telling them things they can relate to, it kind of calms them down, she said. Great quote. Her own motivation is personal. Finch said a close friend lost 2 brothers days apart to COVID-19, and that motivates her to keep working. Quote, people are still dying, she said. While applauding the Biden administration's efforts to get Americans vaccinated, some public health experts say there are limits to what persuasion can achieve. The administration has ruled out vaccine passports.
Sorry, just to interrupt. They keep saying persuasion. Just replace that word with propaganda. This is really what it is.
I mean, persuasion is barely a better word than propaganda.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they might as well. I know they're trying not to say propaganda.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. The persuasion is just like a euphemism.
Especially since all the science that they are claiming is ironclad is by the admission of the health officials of not just the U.S., but also the world, is shaky at best. Yeah. And yet, that's what it is. It's persuasion, it's propaganda. It's not the science currently. The administration has ruled out vaccine passports that could become a ticket to benefits such as international travel. Yeah, they've ruled out the unconstitutional restriction of travel due to health history. Well, good for them. Give them a big pat on the back. But Dr. Lena Wen, a former Baltimore health commissioner, said a federal verification system that people could use to prove their vaccination status could still be an incentive.
Hold on. How is a federal verification system to prove their vaccination status different from a vaccine passport.
And also, how is it an incentive? You should get your vaccine so you can go on this federal list. You want to be on a list with the government? Well, get your vaccine. Your dreams can come true. Quote, setting an aspirational goal of 70% was the right goal for the Biden administration, but I wish they had not been so hesitant about vaccination requirements, she said. Quote, we are going to be in a position where the majority of the country is going to be vaccinated, said Wen. Quote, why should they be held hostage by a minority of the population who are potentially endangering everyone else?
They're not endangering everybody.
Listen to this crazy double speak here.
Insanity. I'm sorry.
Why would the vaccinated be held hostage by the unvaccinated? What do you think is the exact thing that you are doing to the unvaccinated by threatening their freedoms, threatening their travel? You are literally gaslighting unvaccinated people. This is, I mean, it's not a joke. That is straight up gaslighting, psychological manipulation towards the unvaccinated. You evil unvaccinated dirty dog are holding hostage those good citizens who took their shot when they were told to. Administration officials show no signs of budging in their position. The federal government is not planning to create a database of people who have been vaccinated, Murthy said. Ricardo Alonzon Zaldivar, the Associated Press, that's just the writer. Yeah, there you go.
Well,
yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of the same language that we've heard over and over, but it's interesting. Again, they really pushed this word persuasion. And it seems like almost the entire reason for this article was to shift the language from propaganda to persuasion. And again, with the blatant gaslighting of the unvaccinated in this article, and it's not just this article, you see it all the time, part of that gaslighting is turning persuasion into a friendly term, not one that, should be called into question and motivations be examined. No. It's just persuasion.
Since we don't fall under the movable middle, I hereby declare us to be part of the non-negotiable narrow.
Oh, did you just make that up?
I just made it up.
Oh, see, we should be getting paid for this kind of thing, Gons.
I know. HHS, go ahead. Write the article about the non-negotiable narrow.
Non-negotiable narrow. Yes, okay.
They will die with the virus, with the Delta variant. Their bodies will be strewn across the streets of America as they did not comply to the orders of the panoptic scientific dictatorship. All right. Let's see. This is a Bloomberg article. I saw this being shared around this morning. The last and only foreign scientist in the Wuhan lab speaks out. Really pushing it. Bloomberg. So yeah, we know that who was the Bloomberg? Wasn't that the wife? Or no, that's just Michael Bloomberg. Never mind.
Yeah, but Michael Bloomberg's wife got in trouble for something.
I don't remember what it was. But anyway, here we go.
It was something bad.
Danielle Anderson. Here we go. Danielle Anderson was working in what has become the world's most notorious laboratory just weeks before the first known cases of COVID-19 emerged in central China. Yet, the Australian virologist still wonders what she missed. An expert in bat-borne viruses, Anderson is the only foreign scientist to have undertaken research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, BSL-4 lab, the first in mainland China equipped to handle the planet's deadliest pathogens. Her most recent stint ended in November 2019, giving Anderson an insider's perspective on a place that's become a flashpoint in the search for what caused the worst pandemic in a century. The emergence of the coronavirus in the same city where Institute scientists clad head to toe in protective gear study that exact family of viruses has stoked speculation that it might have leaked from the lab, possibly via an infected staffer or a contaminated object. China's lack of transparency since the earliest days of the outbreak fueled those suspicions, which have been seized on by the U.S. That's turned the quest to uncover the origins of the virus, critical for preventing future pandemics, into a geopolitical minefield. The work of the lab and the director of its emerging infectious disease section, Shi Zhengli, a longtime colleague and Anderson's dubbed Batwoman for her work hunting viruses in caves, is now shrouded in controversy. The U.S. has questioned the lab's safety and alleged its scientists were engaged in contentious gain-of-function research that manipulated viruses in a manner that could have made them more dangerous. It's a stark contrast to what Anderson describes in an interview with Bloomberg News, the first in which she's shared details about working at the lab. Half-truths and distorted information have obscured an accurate accounting of the lab's functions and activities, which were more routine than how they've been portrayed in the media, she says. Quote, "It's not that it was boring, but it was a regular lab that worked in the same way as any other high-contaminant lab," Anderson said. "What people are saying is just not how it is." Now at Melbourne's Peter Doherty Institute for Infection and Immunity, Anderson began collaborating with Wuhan researchers in 2016 when she was scientific director of the biosafety lab at Singapore's Duke's NUS Medical School. Her research, which focuses on why lethal viruses like Ebola and Nipah cause no disease in the bats in which they perpetually circulate, complemented studies underway at the Chinese Institute, which offered funding to encourage international collaboration. A rising star in the virology community, Anderson, 42, says her work on Ebola in Wuhan was the realization of a lifelong career goal. Her favorite movie is Outbreak. Oh, God. Her favorite movie is Outbreak, the 1995 film in which disease experts respond to a dangerous new virus. A job Anderson said she wanted to do. For her, what a great example of just the mind control of Hollywood influencing a generation. For her, that meant working on Ebola in a high-contaminant laboratory. Anderson's career has taken her all over the world after obtaining an undergraduate degree from She's doing stuff all over the world. She did a postdoctoral work in Montreal. She's very committed and dedicated. They're so wonderful. She's so wonderful. She's just so wonderful. Anderson was on the ground in Wuhan when experts believed the virus known as SARS-CoV-2 was beginning to spread. Daily visits for a period in late 2019 put her in close proximity to many others working at the 65-year-old research center. She was part of a group that gathered each morning at the Chinese Academy of Sciences to catch a bus that shuttled them to the institute about 20 miles away. As the sole foreigner, Anderson stood out, and she said that other researchers there looked out for her. Quote, "When we went to dinner together, lunches, we saw each other outside of the lab," she said. From her first visit before it formally opened in 2018, Anderson was impressed with the Institute's maximum biocontainment lab. The concrete bunker-style building has the highest biosafety designation and requires air, water, and waste to be filtered and sterilized before it leaves the facility. Yep.
They're talking about the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Yes. This is like straight propaganda. Yeah, she's impressed.
Yeah, straight propaganda. She's impressed by the lab that had multiple safety infractions 2 years before the pandemic.
Yes, but of course, this is, remember, you got to, it's a propaganda piece to,
totally
prop up the WIV. So, there were strict protocols and requirements aimed at containing the pathogens being studied, Anderson said. The researchers underwent 45 hours of training to be certified to work independently in the lab. 45 hours is not that much, but I guess, okay. The induction process required scientists to demonstrate their knowledge of containment procedures and their competency in wearing air-pressured suits. Quote, "It's very, very extensive," Anderson said. She's like glorifying this process. That doesn't mean mistakes can happen or that things can leak. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I know she's making it sound like, oh, they went through all the measures, but it doesn't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
Entering and exiting the facility was a carefully choreographed endeavor, she said. Departures were made especially intricate by a requirement to take both a chemical shower and a personal shower, the timings of which were precisely planned. Wow, sounds dictatorship.
Sounds like China.
The rules are mandatory across BSL-4 labs, though Anderson noted differences compared with similar facilities in Europe, Singapore, and Australia in which she worked. The Wuhan lab uses a bespoke method to make and monitor its disinfectants daily, a system Anderson was inspired to introduce in her own lab. She was connected via a headset to colleagues in the lab's command center to enable constant communication and safety vigilance, steps designed to ensure nothing went awry. However, the Trump administration's focus in 2020 on the idea the virus escaped from the Wuhan facility suggested that something went seriously wrong at the institute. The only one to specialize in virology, viral pathology, and virus technology of some 20 biological and biomedical research institutes of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Virologists and infectious disease experts initially dismissed the theory, noting that viruses jump from animals. Yeah, we know all this stuff. We know. And yet China's actions raised questions. The government refused to allow international scientists into Wuhan. Yes, we know. Never sick. China's obfuscation led outside researchers to reconsider their stance. Last month, 18 scientists writing in the journal Science called for an investigation into COVID-19's origin that would give balanced consideration to the possibility of a lab accident. Even the Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said the lab theory hadn't been studied extensively enough. But it's U.S. President Joe Biden's consideration of the idea previously dismissed by many as a Trumpist conspiracy theory that has given it newfound legitimacy. Biden called on American intelligence agencies last month to redouble their efforts in rooting out the genesis of COVID-19. What was it was like a 90-day window, right? I think we still have a couple more months before we find out the results of that.
Yeah. What was it? 120, 180 days he wanted?
I thought it was 90. I don't know. Maybe it was 120.
120 days.
Anderson said no one she knew at the Wuhan Institute was ill towards the end of 2019. Moreover, there's a procedure.
There you go. She said it.
She said it.
Must be true.
Moreover, there's a procedure for reporting symptoms that correspond with the pathogens handled in high-risk contaminant labs. Quote, if people were sick, I assumed that I would have been sick, and I wasn't. She said, what? Okay. I wasn't sick, so that means nobody was sick. Quote, I was tested for coronavirus in Singapore before I was vaccinated and had never had it. Okay, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, it's the I forget what the actual name for it is, but it's a logical fallacy. Just because this one woman did not know of anyone being sick, we're supposed to believe that nobody was sick.
Yeah, more
or
quotes.
got sick, because she's a conscientious coworker. She cares. If somebody was sick, she would have baked some cookies.
Just a couple more quotes from her. There was no chatter, Anderson said. Quote, scientists are gossipy and excited. There was nothing strange from my point of view going on at that point that would make you think something is going on here. Okay. And there's a whole section called I'm Not Naive.
What in the world?
It's not that it's impossible the virus spilled from there. Oh, okay. Buried at the bottom of this article. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible the virus spilled from there. Anderson, better than most people, understands how a pathogen can escape from a laboratory. SARS, an earlier coronavirus that emerged in Asia in 2002 and killed more than 700 people, subsequently made its way out of secure facilities a handful of times, she said. If presented with evidence that such an accident spawned COVID-19, Anderson, quote, could foresee how things could maybe happen, she said. Quote, I'm not naive enough to say I absolutely write this off. Okay, so she's giving it a little room here to protect herself, probably, to make sure she doesn't...
It's a Fauci. It's a Fauci escape hatch.
Total Fauci thing here. And then it gets into some gain of function stuff and how she didn't participate in the gain of function.
Well, then it
research.
Must not have happened.
Well, no, she's saying that she was qualified for it, but she didn't see any of it there.
Okay.
And she says that she would have been in there if there was anything going on to this degree.
Again, if something funky was going on, I definitely would have known it because, the Chinese government would definitely have trusted a foreigner with this secret research that they weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
They definitely would have just let the white woman in. I mean, come on.
Well, and the other thing, it reminded me of an interview we did with Dr. Hugo de Garis many years ago. Mm-hmm. And he was working on reverse engineering the brain in China. And remember, he even was like, I don't agree with what you guys are doing. And, he got out. He got to live. Yeah. But it was only because he was a foreigner.
Yeah.
So they already treat foreigners with disdain and with, an extended arm, just kind of, okay, you stay there. Mm-hmm. So what would make anybody think that this woman who happened to be there was in on all the secrets?
It is kind of, they're banking on this, like, I'm a white woman working at the WIV, so I would definitely know if something funny was going on. Forget all of the, evidence and documentation and suspicious activity. Forget all of that. I work at the WIV. I would definitely know.
And this is mainstream news also.
Yeah.
Trying to just find whoever to, again, push this idea that it couldn't have been the lab.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there more to her thing?
No, I'm done with her.
She's Australian, you say. Interesting, too, because Australia and China have a very contentious relationship. Mm-hmm. They're not best friends. So, yeah. Of course, they would let the Australian white woman in on all their secrets, government.
That's what I'm saying.
Gain-of-function research. Yeah. It's just, it's kind of gross, actually, her whole attitude towards this.
Yeah. Well, she's
right.
Accomplished.
You ready to keep moving?
Couple more here before the break. Yeah, these two should be quick here.
Yeah, a little quick one here. This is coming from InsideNova.com. Ceres receives NIH contract to improve COVID-19 surveillance. Woo!
What kind of surveillance?
Ceres Nanosciences, a Manassas company that makes products to improve diagnostic testing, has been awarded an $8.2 million contract from the National Institute of Health to support the development and implementation of wastewater-based surveillance systems for COVID-19.
Hey.
It's the sewer surveillance.
We were
continues.
On it. You thought I was messing around with all of our toilet stuff.
When we first brought the sewer surveillance thing, which there are some people who have caught on by now, because how could you not? But when we first brought up the sewer surveillance thing, nobody was talking about it.
I know.
And it seemed incredibly silly. It was a joke. But since then, there's millions of dollars getting handed out to improve sewer surveillance. And sewer surveillance is the main tool that's being used to track the Delta variant. The sewer surveillance, which, look, people were, I wouldn't say upset, but they were annoyed that we were talking about such blue things like sewer surveillance, and they're testing your feces without your knowledge. And this is how they're going to track spread throughout neighborhoods and know exactly which neighborhoods to lock down, et cetera, et cetera. And here it is. It's a mainstream, highly supported and funded area of research, and the main tool they're using to track variants. And so there you go. I don't even know if we need to go into it very much, but Ceres, let's see, the contract awarded through NIH's Rapid Acceleration of Diagnostics initiative will rely on Ceres's nanotrap particle technology. Nanobots in the sewers, in a network of sites with an emphasis on underserved and vulnerable populations. So black people, they're going to put nanobots in your sewage to track your COVID-19 spreadability. Wastewater surveillance can help communities monitor COVID-19 trends, but widespread implementation has been stymied by the lack of a sensitive, rapid, high-throughput viral concentration method. The company said in a news release, its nanotrap magnetic virus particles capture and concentrate virus directly from raw sewage before RNA extraction and detection, and can be adapted for small-scale and large-scale surveillance systems. Ceres will work with a team of scientists at Emory University to develop and implement a wastewater-based COVID-19 surveillance framework in the metro Atlanta area. So they are explicitly targeting the black population, with a focus on correctional facilities, low-income neighborhoods, and long-term care facilities. At the same time, Ceres will be identifying and launching a network of centers of excellence for high-throughput wastewater-based COVID-19 surveillance. Quote, "We are very excited to identify additional sites around the country to implement similar approaches," said Ben Lapine, Chief Technology Officer at Ceres Nanosciences. This award builds on a $6.57 million award that Ceres received last year to increase the manufacturing capacity of its magnetic virus particles. What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, you know what I would...
Here.
I know. What I want to know is what the song is going to be from the third Amigo, Dr.
Dr. Francis Collins.
Francis Collins. I want to hear his folk jingle. I was trying to write one just now. It didn't really come together very well.
Okay.
But let me see here. If you have been naughty, not getting your jabby, we'll find out with nanobots in your potty. Something like that. I'm just waiting for him. I'm getting
just struck, huh? You're like, I need to write Francis Collins a song at this moment.
I want to send him just some lyrics to consider for his new series contract for COVID-19 surveillance of water waste.
Yeah. Well, you should send him some inspiration, but I don't know if you should get involved with his creative process.
Oh yeah, I could really be stepping on some toes there. Anyway.
All right. One last one here, and then we'll take a quick break.
Last one before the break. San Francisco Chronicle. Where are drugs to beat COVID and the next pandemic?
Yeah, it's continuing this storyline. There will be another one. There will be another one. It's been 100 years since the last one. So, look, time is a flat circle. There will be another pandemic someday, of course. But obviously, using this opportunity again, it's all about the money, getting that taxpayer dollars out there.
Yeah. Well, let me just read this here. Even with powerful vaccines in hand and the coronavirus waning across most of the U.S., there's still an urgent need for drugs to treat COVID-19. No, not really. There isn't. But Big Pharma needs to cash in.
Gons.
Big Pharma needs to cash in, so that's the narrative. There's no drugs to treat COVID-19. And that could lay the foundation for the next generation of therapies for pandemics, say Bay Area scientists conducting such research. Drug therapies were an early focus in the pandemic when it wasn't clear how long it would take to develop effective vaccines. But while vaccine development has been enormously successful, thanks in large part to the federal government's $18 billion investment, drug treatments have been disappointingly elusive. No, it hasn't. It hasn't been elusive.
Well, it's been elusive because ivermectin has been effective, but stifled.
Yeah.
The ivermectin thing is coming out. Joe Rogan just did a big emergency thing, and when Joe does something, it's going to start catching on.
Yeah. The Biden, and by the way, the $18 billion investment, that was under Trump's watch, right? The whole pushing the federal government to develop the vaccine.
Yeah, it's Operation Warp Speed.
They don't want to mention that, though, right?
No, they don't.
San Francisco Chronicle. The Biden administration announced this month that it would invest $3.2 billion into research on COVID therapies, in particular antivirals that attack the virus and stop it from replicating early in the infection before people become seriously ill. That was cause for celebration, Bay Area scientists said, though it was unclear how much local research would be funded. It's all about the funding. All these Bay Area scientists, all they care about is how much money they get.
It's a cash grab,
so
for sure.
Disgusting. When you look at it through that lens, articles like this are disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Just one drug therapy, remdesivir, that directly targets the virus has been federally approved in the U.S. since the start of the pandemic almost a year and a half ago.
Keep in mind, remdesivir is $3,000 a dose. Yeah. Ivermectin is like $2.
$2, yeah. Antibody therapies that help the body fend off virus are effective but expensive and difficult to administer. A few other treatments have helped prevent deaths among people hospitalized with COVID. These are all critical components of battling COVID, but they don't fit a particular need that could help crush this pandemic and potentially the next one too. A drug that comes in a pill, is simply and cheaply distributed, and prevents serious illness or stops people from getting sick altogether. Quote, the vaccine is a medical miracle, but the reality is that you need multiple arsenals against a disease like this, said Dr. Upinder Singh, an infectious disease expert at Stanford. Quote, what we really need is something you can just get at your pharmacy. I can't even read through this. It's just it's upsetting. The need for such treatment is especially critical in parts of the world where almost no one has been vaccinated and the coronavirus is still killing thousands of people a day. Are there people around the world? Is there a place where thousands are dying per day from this still?
India, maybe?
And, I mean, even then, the counting is shady. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, around the world, maybe.
Yeah, but doctors are also desperate for therapies in the U.S., where more than half the population is still not fully vaccinated, and the highly infectious Delta variant has a foothold.
Mm-hmm.
Has a foothold. I don't know if I can read any more of this.
I mean, what is the story here? That they're working on drugs?
Yes.
Money to make
it's one
drugs,
big thing that to
make
justify
a replacement for ivermectin that already exists and is cheap but is unpatentable.
Yeah, it's a money grab article.
Yeah.
Let me just read a couple more, the two more paragraphs or sentences.
Okay.
Although the main goal of current COVID research is to develop therapies that could be used in this pandemic, quote, what we need to be working on is COVID-24, said Brian Shoichet, a computational chemist at UCSF. Computational chemist. Quote, if $3 billion had been thrown at the problem 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation, Shoichet said. Quote, the next one could be worse, and that's what the people at the CDC mumble in their dark dreams. This wasn't the big one, actually. Again, saying that there's going to be another one, number one. Number two, just begging for money. Like, oh, hey, if you would have given us $3 billion 20 years ago, this pandemic wouldn't have even happened. I don't know. It's gross. Makes me feel disgusting. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a quick little break then. How you doing on time?
Pretty short, but we still have a little under an hour, so we can probably...
Okay, we'll be fine. That'll be good. All right, well, let's take a quick little break.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick little break, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got, let's see, we're checking in with the Pope, checking in with the New World Order, AI might be in a place to win a prize, and some more news about the Olympics. So all sorts of good stuff, but don't go anywhere because we got more after the break. But before that, you might notice we have no advertisements on the show, no affiliate codes trying to get you to buy underwear subscriptions, and no super cool vitamin supplements that'll change your life. No, that's right, folks. We have completely disconnected. Well, we're more than disconnected. We've never been connected to the advertising theology, the grand theology that keeps the internet going. Nuh-uh, folks, because we're on the value for value model. Now, the advertising industry, why don't we just play ads, Gons? Why wouldn't we just make it easy, make it free, and just why would we even bother with the value for value model when we can just get on the put on the payroll of big corporations who could, use us to get into the minds and hearts of our listeners and subtly change their purchasing habits for their own personal gain. What would possess us to not buy into that sort of system?
To not be a slave.
That's right. That's right. We take no corporate money here. No YouTube money, no Twitch partnership, blah, 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 and no advertisements. But don't worry, the show is and always will be free. But for those who want to join us in the battle against the ubiquitousness of the advertising industry, which is the cause for issues like privacy concerns, big data collection, targeted algorithms, the creation of a digital you that can be monetized and sold. And on top of that, the ethical issues with incentivizing people like Gons and I to gather up as many listeners as possible and then to package them up and sell them off to advertisers and big corporations for our own personal gain. What could possibly go wrong? And not only that, when we don't take any corporate money, that means we have no incentive to be brand friendly, as they call it.
Brand safe.
We have yes, brand safe too, brand friendly, brand safe. We have no need to talk about or not talk about certain things based on what our corporate advertisers would like to affiliate themselves with. Nope, none of that, folks. We are completely free. And for those listeners who see the value in that and see the fragility of the situation that we have put ourselves in, and they want to, we refer to it as a real, not only is it sort of a financial revolution, but it is a real spiritual revolution, because when you sort of submit yourself or even beg for sometimes advertisements as to not have to sit through spiels like this, there really is something about it that is much deeper than just, I don't want to listen to Basil ramble on about advertisings for another 5 minutes. No. There's a spiritual level to it. There's as we've seen during our move to the value for value model, people literally getting angry with us and begging us to do advertisements on the show, begging for the mind control, the soft pushes, the integration of corporate money into an otherwise alternative, independent, free media environment. And we just can't do it. But the value for value model represents a wonderful opportunity, not just for Gons and I, to break away from a system that tries its very hardest to suck us in, but also an opportunity for you, dear listener, to rebel, to join the fight against the slow but persistent influence of corporate money on independent media. And there's a big wave of the value for value model sweeping the internet and independent media right now, but we are happy to have always been on this system. And for those of you who find value in what we do and wish for this program to continue, you have an opportunity. That's right, an opportunity to participate and become a producer of the show. Gons, anything you want to say before I go into producership?
No. My throat's getting a little scratchy, so I want to save it for the second half.
I could feel my voice getting weak.
The Delta variant is encroaching both of us.
So for those who want to join the resistance, keep this show going. If you get any value out of what we do, we do 3 shows a week. They're often entirely too long, but we try our very hardest to make it valuable to you, dear listener. And if you get any value out of it, please consider becoming a producer of the show. And we say producer because that's what you are. It's not just charity or not just helping out your good buddies on the internet. It's not just supporting something you want to hear more of. It truly is essential that producers come in from across the world, and they do. And your producers, put it on your resume, put it on your LinkedIn, do the whole thing. We'll vouch for you. Don't worry. This is the real deal. And there's a couple ways to do that. Now, Gons, don't worry. This is going to be a slightly shorter segment. We're in the usual end of the month producer doldrums, but we're very happy that producers found it in their budget and their hearts to support the show this week. You can do that, first of all, by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And there are no new producers over there on Patreon. So nice and quick producer segment. Now, Patreon is not the only way to support the show. A lot of people don't like Patreon, and that's okay. We support you. That's why you can head on over to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
Yes, it is.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
Sorry, I was distracted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, CanaryCry.Radio.com/support is a great place for you to become a producer of the show. There's all sorts of options. You can read about the value for value model, learn about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, as well as coming in and supporting the show. You can do that with cryptocurrency, or you can go ahead and become a monthly producer for those who want a nice set it and forget it option. And we're grateful to all of our monthly producers. They do get producer credits, and they're consistent. You just set it and you keep supporting the show. But if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make a one-time producership in any amount. Gons, who's coming in on the PayPal?
Well, on the PayPal, we have several Knights, Dames, and producers each month. They give monthly, and we don't read your names after the first time you come in, but we do appreciate you. For today's show, we want to start off by thanking producer Aaron J.
Woo! Aaron J coming in, and Aaron's on a streak. That's right. 8 episodes in a row. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Next up, we have producer Alicia Jr.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much, producer Alicia Jr. coming in with 2154. Some sort of secret code.
Yeah. I don't think we got a note from her. But thank you very much, producer Alicia. Next up, we have Alicia M.
That's right. Double Alicia. Thank you very much, Alicia M. And I'm checking. Thought maybe Alicia M was on a streak, but I don't see her. So thank you very much, producer Alicia M. And I believe she comes in with a note. Yes, says, it's my daughter Serenity's birthday today. I wanted to wish her a happy one. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's Psalm 139, 13 through 14. And I think we got to play happy birthday for Serenity.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Woo! Happy birthday to Serenity.
That's right. Very happy birthday. I don't know. Nope, we don't have an age, but good job. You did it. You made it another year, Serenity. Thanks for listening to the show.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have producer James H.
That's right. James H. coming in. He is also on a streak.
They're on a streak.
That's right. And James H. is on an 8-episode streak. Thank you very much, James H.
Nice work. Next, we have producer Juan E.
Woo! Juan E. coming in with $12.45. That'll make sense in a moment. But Juan E. is also on a streak. Coming in 3 episodes in a row. That means Juan E. is heating up.
He's heating up.
There's a note here, Basil. I forgive you for your comment about Alabama. How dare you question our pools? Also, Alabama is probably the best state in the flat global hollow earth that we think we live on, but really is just a simulation of greater Alabama. Luke 12, 4 through 5 is the connection with the 1245 there. Thank you very much, Juan E.
Thank you, producer Juan E. And isn't Juan the one with the Mexican and Redneck Fathers podcast?
Father of the World, yes.
Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Christian D.
Christian D coming in on a streak. 2 episodes in a row. Sends a note. Great to see you on the beach this weekend, Gons. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. Oh, he was at the meetup.
Yeah, it was nice to meet Christian. He had to bail early because he had I think he said he had some pork on the smoker or something.
Oh, yeah, you gotta. Yes, that takes precedence over some beach time with a podcaster.
And it sounded really tasty, actually. I was like, hey, why don't you bring some back?
Hook it up, bro.
Hook it up, bro.
That's funny.
But it was good meeting you, Christian. Thank you for being at the meetup, and pretty close proximity-wise, so...
Okay, there you go. You've got an apocalypse buddy when things go down.
Yeah, when things go down, you got to find Christian D.
Okay.
Over there.
Speaking of meetups.
Yep, Ciara.
Thank you very much, Ciara F. Producer Ciara coming in with a note. Might be a bit late, but sent an email about meetups. Maybe we can coordinate a meetup near Basel. Did we get a note about meetups?
I'm looking.
Oh, we did.
Now.
We got the we got the next flyer. Do you want to do that now, or we save that for later?
Well, we can do it now. It's up to you, but yeah.
Oh, I don't care.
No, let's do it later when it's in the meetup section. But I do want to mention that yes, we did. I met Ciara and her family. It was really cool to meet her, and also she claimed that anybody who has challenged her to a race in the water, as in a swimming race, she has beat. So
she's undefeated.
She's undefeated.
Swimmer.
So I don't know, Ciara. We might have to
put together an event, sell some tickets.
I don't know about selling tickets, but I am more than willing to put the Speedo back on to claim my dominance in the water.
To protect your honor.
So yes, if we organize another meetup in Southern California, we should include a race.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Who's next?
Next up, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
There we go. Thank you very much, Sir Casey, coming in on a streak.
Ooh, it's a big streak too.
That's right. She's maintaining this really impressive streak of 25 episodes in a row, and sends a note. Request for producers. I'm going to listen up, Canary Cry producers. My wife and in-laws need some prayer support for health issues. We love you all. Keep doing what you're doing. P.S. If I make it to a 100-episode streak, you better come up with something good. I will come up with something good for 100 episodes. Luckily, I still got some time, Sir Casey. The confidence. I appreciate the confidence, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. And there you go. Producers, get on the job there. Sir Casey's wife and in-laws need some prayer support for health issues. We'll be praying for you, and we'll pray for a speedy recovery and that there's no long-term effects.
How many episodes in a row to take your VR helmet off and show the world your
I don't know. Sir Casey better keep the streak going, and he'll find out.
I thought you were going to set a number to 30,000 or something.
No, I don't want to have to Fauci. Yeah, if we're doing 30,000 episodes, what would be, let's see, we do about 3 a week. That's 150 a year. So to make 30,000 divided by 100 would be 300 years of episodes. No, that'd be 30.
200
30
years.
Okay.
If we're doing about 150 a year, it'd be about 200.
Yeah, there you go. 30,000 episodes, Sir Casey. Once we're all uploaded to the great hive mind and we're doing Canary Cry episodes.
All right. Thank you, Sir Casey.
Thank you, Casey.
Next up, we have producer Tristan H.
Okay, Tristan H is on a streak. 12 episodes in a row, which means boom shakalaka. Tristan might as well be walking on the sun.
Boom shakalaka!
Might as well be walking on the sun.
Coming in with 526, a nod to one of the more interesting rabbit holes Gons has gone down. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Molech and Kiyun, your images, the star of your Elohim, which ye made to yourselves. Amos 526.
And that's in reference to Kiyun, the star of Kiyun, which it is seems to be a hexagram, at least in the research that I did before.
Right.
And it connects to Saturn. And it's a very interesting rabbit trail to go down, which, by the way, I made a rabbit trail jingle in case we ever go down the rabbit trail.
Come, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Wow. Okay, good. Now we actually we can integrate our rabbit holes into content instead of rambling diversions. Yeah. Okay, who's next?
Thank you, Tristan H. Next up, we have producer Scott K.
Thank you very much. Producer Scott K is on a streak. 18 episodes in a row, which means Scott K has gone supernova.
This is Charlie November Tango. You are approaching supernova. Repeat, you are approaching supernova.
Thank you very much, Scott K, coming in with $3.56, the show number producership.
You know, if this is a race, like a car race, Scott K is not too far behind Sir Casey.
No, just a blink of an eye. Let's see, 5, 6, 7 episodes. That's only about 2 weeks. Interesting. Scott K is the only show number producer that came in this week.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Usually we have at least a handful.
Cool.
All right, who's next?
All right, next up we have producer Kimberly W.
Kimberly W. coming in on a streak.
Oh, streak, yes.
11 episodes in a row, coming in with a pocket full of threes. 333. She sends James 1:11. For no sooner has the sun risen with a burning heat than it withers the grass. Its flower falls, and its beautiful appearance perishes. So the rich man also will fade away in his pursuits. Please continue praying for the Pacific Northwest. As I'm writing this, it is already 96 degrees at my location at 9:20 a.m. with a forecast high of 114. What? I did not know it got that high in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I saw some tweets from John Robertson, who lives up there, and he was saying, forecast 115 up in Portland.
Whoa, my gosh, that's crazy. This is day 3 of dangerously hot temperatures. No one has ever seen anything close to this in this region. Literally 10 plus degrees hotter than what we consider exceptionally hot in this area. Please pray for all who may be at risk of heat-related illness, including those who must do various types of work today to keep others safe, as well as the survival of our crops and herds and the strain on our grid and water supply. I'll be sending out a group email tomorrow to everyone who has expressed interest in the Oregon-Washington meetup in the Estacada area. Hope to finalize the date and location by the end of this week so we can mark out calendars. Here you go. Oregon and Washington Canarians, Estacada meetup. Kim sounds like she's about to set the date. So if you are interested, just get in touch with Kim, because I think right now you still could have a little bit of say in when this happens, depending. I don't know the numbers that Kim is working with right now, but I know she's trying to make it work for everybody. So listen up. I'm going to give you an email right now. Write it down. Put a note in your phone. Open up an email and write it out. Here we go. You're going to email Maidservant of Christ 88. Maidservant of Christ 88 at protonmail.com. If you have not done so already and are interested. There you go. Maidservant of Christ 88 at protonmail.com in the Northern Oregon, Southern Washington area, Estacada. They're going to be going on a hike, looking for Bigfoot. Apparently Bigfoot hangs out there quite a bit, and I know that they're planning on doing some fellowship time as well. So thank you very much, Kimberly W., for your support. And hey, everybody out there, go ahead, get connected with Maidservant of Christ 88 at protonmail.com. Get involved, meet some other Canarians.
Very good. And lastly, we have producer Laura E.
Laura E. Thank you very much. God bless y'all, she says.
Very good. And we did have a little bit of crypto. Excuse me. Throat's really.
Oh, gosh, it's happening.
61,000. Okay.
Sorry. No, I do want to do that. But because we got, we had one person come in just under the wire. You made it. This is for Philip E. Producer Philip E. comes in and has a note here. Everybody's doing it. producing, that is. God bless bros. Thank you very much. And it's true, Philip E. Everybody's doing it. Producing, that is. Very good.
Producing.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Philip E. Let me add that to the list there real quick. You can also support the show with your treasure with cryptocurrencies. We got 61,223 Satoshis.
Yay.
James H. Thank you very much.
That's right. Thank you very much, James H. A double producing again.
Yeah. And we also accept your time and talent as producerships. In the last episode 355, we got timestamps done by producer Christine C. Thank you, Christine, for the timestamps. You can send us jingles or send us artwork.
One art, please.
And today, to kick things off, it's Allie.
One art, please. One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
And this one comes with a note. I'll read the note, Basil, and then you can describe what's happening.
Okay.
The year is 2021. Here in dystopia, autonomous pizza delivery vehicles full of smuggled children are monopolizing bicycle lanes, followed by some guy on a scooter. And any army of discontented bicyclists, with the full support of the Bicycle Council, have decided to wage war.
I knew it was going to happen.
I think it's N Army. Okay, this assault is led by a fearless yet foolhardy cyclist armed only with vocal cords and a catchy slogan. The cyclist behind him, shrouded in mystery behind the coiled binder of a drawing book, has lowered his lance in preparation and is charging toward the inevitable first contact. Will the autonomous pizza delivery vehicle with its precious cargo of pizza and children survive the assault of the lance and continue on its merry way along the bike path? Are there more bicyclists equally or more perilously armed still in the imagination of the artist? Do these questions have answers, or are they merely rhetorically dramatic? Tune in to the next psychological operation to find out. Get it?
Psychological, yes, very good. And it is exactly as it was described. We've got the pizza delivery robot roaming the streets of Austin, Texas, with its kindly scooter-riding shepherd behind it. And I knew it was going to happen. These cyclists, they are very territorial. There's one just jousting, the robot is staring down the barrel of a lance of this jousting bicyclist coming to take the life of this poor pizza delivery robot. And the bicyclist is yelling, "Viva la Council!" Right. The Bicycle Advisory Council of Austin has now weaponized its adherence against these.
This is so great. This is like a great 80s movie, you know?
I know. It's stranger than fiction, guys. Yeah. Thank you very much, Allie.
Thank you very much, Allie. Keep it up. Next up, we have a piece of art from producer Dove, and he comes in with a note as well. Peace had the idea for this one last week after seeing Allie's great portrait of Lex Bezos devouring the Mona Lisa. Unfortunately, efforts to keep Bezos trapped aboard his Blue Origin spaceship and left endlessly orbiting the Earth were unsuccessful, and he managed to make it back. We catch up with Bezos at his headquarters for a Metro 7 breaking news story about a new petition gaining support. It may very well be the last hope for humanity to keep Lex and the rest of the Legion of Doom at bay. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins.
Yes, this is great. We do have Lex Bezos here standing up at a podium, which is emblazoned with the derpy Baphomet, which is quickly becoming a recognizable symbol across the world. The derpy Baphomet. And Lex Bezos here, he's got his Mona Lisa standing next to him, or just holding the piece of artwork. And he does have what was it called? The Legion of Doom. We've got Emperor Klaus Bettine on the far right. We've got Bill Gates as the Joker. Once he was Ronald McDonald the clown, he has switched over to the Joker clown.
It's one and the same. He is all clowns.
Yes, he changes his clown outfit. And then on the left here, we've got Mousy Fauci, who is currently not digging up potatoes on the Gates farm. And this is Zuckerberg has this Zuckerberg appeared before? It's like Zuckerberg in the old-timey Riddler outfit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know if we've seen that. I mean, it feels like spiritually we have seen this illustrated before, but it might be a new entry in the Legion of Doom here. So there you go. You got Zuckerberg, the Riddler. He's got some spooky eyes as well. And there's a chyron down at the bottom. Breaking news, Hall of Doom, new petition to glue Lex Bezos to firmament.
I like that so much better than the Eat Mona Lisa. Let's just glue him to the firmament.
Oh my gosh. These silly billionaires, they think they can do whatever they want.
And a couple details here. Lex Bezos has a tail.
Oh, I did not notice the tail, yes.
And he's got 6 fingers on each hand.
Oh, I missed that too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yup, you nailed it.
He's a Nephilim.
Yeah.
A descendant of the Nephilim.
Something, yeah. Maybe he added those, so maybe they're cyborg fingers. Thank you very much, Dove.
Thank you, Dove.
Always well done.
Yeah, I love these. They're so good. All right. And last piece of art today, Faye Livin coming in with a piece.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick note that says, I laughed so hard it matches the stream intro background so nicely. And I think they used a art generator, like an
80s text art generator.
And by the way, I think I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. I'm not 100% sure on.
Who, Faye Livin?
Yeah.
I believe it's a woman.
Okay. Well, if it is a woman, she has been sending Instagram things to use for Instagram. Have you been using that?
Yes, we have a active messaging thing going on Instagram, where she has been taking quotes from the show, putting it on nice little frames there. She's developing sort of logos for every segment of the show, such as the FLIPPY update and NWO stuff. They're really great. I've posted one of them on the Canary Cry Instagram, and there's more to come. But if you're out there and you are on Instagram, go ahead and follow us, Canary.Cry.Radio. I might change that to News Talk someday, but for right now, Canary.Cry.Radio. And all the fun clips I make of the show make it on there. The art will eventually start making it on there, and you can see one of Faye Livin's. Is it Faye Livin or Faye Livrin? I forget. One of her thingies she's put up there. So that's great. Thank you very much. And this will be one of them.
Yeah, Faye Livrin. She gave us the pronunciation here.
Yeah, so Faye Livrin, right?
Livrin, yeah.
Yes, okay. There you go.
And the piece of art here is it's that 80s style retro vaporwave.
Okay, hold on. Somebody in the chat just asked if we have an Instagram. Guys, listen to me. We have an Instagram. Canary.Cry.Radio.
Yeah, go to CanaryCry.Party for all the links, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't know if I have the Instagram on there.
Oh, you better.
Yeah. That makes wait. I'm gonna check right now.
I'm checking right now too. Let's see.
I think maybe I didn't put the Instagram on there.
Oh, I don't see it. You're dropping the ball, Basil.
All right, I'll link it up there to for CanaryCry.Party. And remember, go to CanaryCry.Party for all your Canary Cry links.
Yes, and this piece by Faye Livrin is the retro wave, vaporwave style. I don't know, piece that says Canary Cry News Talk, think outside the cage. It's great. It's something we could use.
Totally. Probably will.
Probably should, given our given our background and everything.
Yeah.
All right, that does it for all the producerships. Is there anything else, Basil?
Oh, I don't think so.
Meetups for Ciara. Yeah. Okay. So we let me play the meetup jingle here. Where'd it go? Here it is.
Canary Cry Meetup.
There are a couple coming up here. There's one in July. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the artwork into the thing. The Arizona meetup is coming up. CCC Arizona meetup, July 24th, 1 p.m. at the Bible Museum, Wildflower Bread Company.
Yeah. Bible Museum. This is cool.
Yeah.
This thing about the meetups that CR puts on, there's always some cool activity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's something to do, something to see. It's always nice just connecting with other people, but she does more than just let's go to a restaurant or something. Although I think that is also included. But yeah, this looks fun. Bible Museum, July 24th, 1 p.m. in Arizona. Where is there? Do we have a city? Just in Arizona. We'll see you at the Bible Museum in Arizona.
Wildflower Bread Company. I don't know.
Is that in Phoenix or something?
It sounds like it's in Phoenix.
Ciara, if you're in the chat, let us know what city this is, and we'll make sure to do it. But there you go. So in a little under a month, all you Arizona people, or if you're near there, go ahead. Get in this meetup. It's good. You want to meet other Canarians just like you. We get questions all the time about if we know listeners in certain parts of the world or the country. But Ciara she's creating the opportunities for you to connect to other listeners just like you. So make sure to do that.
Yep.
And I'll take this moment again, just one more time, to plug CanaryCry.Party. That's got all the links to all the stuff you need to know. Make sure to follow us in other locations. Also, if you haven't done it yet, for this episode, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit like and make sure to subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Ciara had another save the dates list, and I just want to read that off real quick. Arizona, July 24th. That's the one we just talked about. Georgia, August 21st.
Oh, that's a new edition, isn't it?
I think so. Missouri, September 11th. Ohio, October 30th. And she's prompting you to create your own as well.
That's right. Anybody out there, you can hold a Canary Cry meetup. Just figure out what you want to do. Get in contact with us. If you want to hold a meetup in your area, send us an email. We'd love to talk about it on the show so we can get. We need the Canarians to know each other in real life.
I just looked up the location of the Bible Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And unless this is a different one, it says it's in Goodyear, Arizona.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all the info will be available to you if you email Ciara Lauren93@gmail.com.
That's right. CIARALAUREN93@gmail.com.
Yep. And you can get all that at CanaryCryNewsTalk.com. And that's it. Thank you, all the producers, for episode 356.
And I do want to plug, make sure to go to CanaryCry.community if you're looking for a non-algoized social media network. Hopefully you're off social media, but if you're not and you want to find a better place filled with people who are just like you, but not too much like you, go over to CanaryCry.community. That's our social network there. And there's also a Discord channel. You can find all those links at CanaryCry.Party.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, time to get started here. You want to start this off?
Yeah, let's do Space Pope Reptilian. Oh, wait, we changed it, so things are out of order. Where did it go?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, my Space Pope Reptilian jingle is missing. Here it is.
Space Pope Reptilian.
What's the Pope been up to? According to Reuters.com, far from home, Spider-Man drops in at the papal audience.
Oh, great.
A different type of participant dropped in on Pope Francis's general audience at the Vatican on Wednesday. Spider-Man. Why do I have a paywall here? I didn't have one before. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Why? That is very bizarre. Maybe they don't like
it. You've looked at our cool article too many times, Gons.
I guess. I don't know. It's just weird.
Give us your money.
And I kind of need the whole thing because it's got some cool pictures to go along with the story. But do you want to read it real quick since I'm trying to
Sure, while you figure that out. Yeah. Vatican City, June 23rd, Reuters. A different type of participant dropped in on Pope Francis's general audience at the Vatican on Wednesday. Spider-Man, a man dressed in a full skin-tight red, black, and blue costume of the comic book and film character, including head cover, sat in the VIP section of the audience in Vatican's San Damaso courtyard. He sat quietly next to a priest dressed in black who appeared to be unperturbed by the colorful character with big white eyes in the next seat. The man behind the mask turned out to be Mattia Villardita, 27, from northern Italy. He was given a place in the VIP section because of his work dressing up in superhero costumes and visiting sick children in hospitals. At the end of the audience, he was introduced to the Pope and gave the pontiff a Spider-Man mask. Last year, Italian President Sergio Mattarella gave Villardita an award for his work with sick children. So we've got Saint Spider-Man.
Saint Spider-Man, and I'm really bummed that this thing isn't unlocking stuff because the images, the pictures are just amazing.
Yeah, well, first of all, a very high quality Spider-Man outfit. Okay, well, this isn't your normal Halloween store Spider-Man outfit. But yes, there are photos here of him shaking the hand. He's got the two-handed handshake. If you zoom in, there's something akin to a Masonic handshake going on. He's got the full thumb wrap around there. He's handing him a Spider-Man mask. And, so it seems like Pope Francis is a fan.
Well, I'm bummed because the pictures from the Reuters article has not just Spider-Man shaking hands with the Pope, but just him sitting in the audience.
Yes.
And it's just like, what is our world other than clown world? It's just ridiculous. Let's see if it worked. Here we go. There it is. All right, so there's Spider-Man, for those of you watching anyway. Spider-Man shaking hands with the Pope. He looks fairly buff, by the way. Like that doesn't look like fake muscles.
No, this guy is very committed to his role.
Yep. Oh, come on. Give me the next picture. It's not good. All right, well, I guess it's not going to work because Reuters being poopy heads.
You guys can find the picture of Francis and Spider-Man.
That's the whole reason why I did this. All right. Whatever, Reuters. You're trying to secretly hide your obsession with hybrid entities from comic books.
Yes.
By not letting us share it on the show. We're on to you, Pope.
Okay. Yeah, what a strange day in life we live here in this world. All right, well, we should just keep on zooming and check in with the New World Order.
A new world order can emerge. A new era. A new world order. A new world order.
So one of the things we do on the show is keep track of how the mainstream media talks about conspiracy theorists. And this is
the framing, the propaganda, the continued division between those good citizens who listen to the media and those who have the gall to question a mainstream narrative about anything.
And this is aap.com.au. Conspiracy theorists' depopulation text does not appear in Great Reset book.
Oh, doesn't it?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, I think, in the last show.
You read straight from the book last episode.
Yeah, but here's another article just trying to say that they need the straw man. They really do. The statement: Facebook post claims a book written by the executive chairman of the World Economic Forum detailed plans to depopulate the world through wars, organized epidemics, and starvation. The June 23rd post by an Australian user claims to show a page from WEF Chairman Klaus Schwab's book, COVID-19, The Great Reset. The highlighted text mentions plans to kill off billions of people, beginning with white populations. Quote, at least 4 billion useless eaters shall be eliminated by the year 2050 by means of limited wars, organized epidemics of fatal rapid-acting diseases, and starvation, it says. The post has been viewed 24,000 times and shared more than 340 times as of this writing. It and other versions of the same claim, see here and here, hyperlinks, state, quote, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is 100% real. Do your research. And it shows a screenshot of the claim here. The analysis. The passages included in the post does not come from the World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab's book on the opportunities for change following the COVID-19 pandemic. Rather, It appears in a 30-year-old document by a British author who put forward numerous baseless conspiracy theories. That author, in return, appeared to falsely link the text to acclaimed science fiction author H.G. Wells. Professor Schwab is a German engineer and economist who established the World Economic Forum in 1971 as a not-for-profit organization with a stated aim of bringing together politics, business, cultural, and other leaders. In 2020, and it goes into some other stuff that we talked about in the last episode. Did we cover this exact article? I don't think we did, right? But we mentioned it.
No, but we did. This is interesting. It's sort of, again, a bit of a psyop, because you can read straight from. Now, we didn't read from the.
Yes, we did.
What did you read? You read from the Great Reset.
We did. Yeah.
You can read straight from the Great Reset, where, maybe it doesn't say what this page shows, which is at least 4 billion useless eaters shall be eliminated by the year 2050.
He's not going to say useless eaters in his book.
He doesn't say those words. And this is kind of the problem that we've been. It's not just a problem with the way conspiracy theorists are depicted in the mainstream, which these kinds of Facebook posts only go to aid the narrative that conspiracy theorists are lying and putting out disinfo and et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is you don't need to lie about this stuff, because you can take quotes straight from the book that are as bad as the one that they are claiming here, and you don't need to lie about it. It's truth. But there's obviously a psyop here, because the talk about the Great Reset book from Klaus Schwab has been becoming more and more popular. It's spreading around not just the internet, but you can just buy this book and read it. It says all the things that we know it does, but this screams of psyop. Like, oh, these crazy. You might hear your crazy conspiracy theorist friend say something that Klaus Schwab said in his book. Well, see, here's a fake Facebook disinfo thing. So don't listen to any of your crazy friends, and also don't read the book.
I mean, he does say some pretty wild things here. There's a section here. I'm just going to pull it up. I was just doing some.
Is this from the actual Great Reset?
Actual
or from this
Great
one?
Reset book.
Yeah, okay.
COVID-19, the Great Reset. Mm-hmm. And I just did a word search on populations, and in a section that talks about the whole COVID-19 issue, he's kind of soft about it. He says. COVID-19, unlike certain past epidemics, COVID-19 doesn't pose a new existential threat. It will not result in unforeseen mass famines or major military defeats and regime changes. Whole populations will neither be exterminated nor displaced as a result of the pandemic. However, this does not equate to a reassuring analysis. In reality, the pandemic is dramatically exacerbating pre-existing dangers that we failed to confront adequately for too long. It will also accelerate disturbing trends that have been building up over a prolonged period of time. It's like saying COVID-19 is not the one that's going to depopulate, but it's on all the things that still depopulating will depopulate.
Yeah, well, and it fits right in with the talk that we've been seeing over and over and over by the authorities that the next pandemic, there will be one very soon. We must be prepared.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any other. A recent academic review concludes that agriculture drivers are associated with more than 50% of zoonotic diseases, as human activities like agriculture, with many others like mining, logging, or tourism, encroach on natural ecosystems. They break down the barriers between human populations and animals, creating the conditions for infectious diseases to emerge by spilling from animals to humans. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on in this book.
Yeah. Well, that's his whole thing. And that's fun that the World Economic Forum has been around since the 70s. He's had 50 years to grow its influence.
Oh, here it is. This is also due to the fact the severity of the economic shock inflicted by the coronavirus will conflate with a long-term trend, declining populations in many countries and aging populations. So, yeah, I mean, he's basically saying that the pandemic could cause a longer trend of declining populations, which is a nice way to say depopulation. So
yeah,
it's all in there. I mean, it's really not that hard to, it's just interesting because this article is all about people who aren't going to go to the source. It's just, hey, I just want confirmation that the people saying that the Great Reset and Klaus Schwab is crazy, I need something to show my friends that they're all nuts. Well, how about this straw man about this?
Yeah.
And people posting stuff like this on Facebook could very well be disinfo agents. Because otherwise, who would
Well, that's what I mean.
Post this?
This looks like a psyop to me because you don't need to lie about crazy stuff that Klaus Schwab has written in any of his books. He writes crazy stuff all the time in his books, and to post something that isn't from the book and try to claim that it is just a blatant. You don't need you would need to go out of your way to lie about what's in his book. Yeah. And that's why it does kind of scream disinfo to me. Again, just to discredit people questioning the official narrative.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I got a little AI update here for you.
Artificial intelligence.
This is coming from The Economist. Very powerful sort of wizards over there at The Economist. Has a headline here. What if an AI wins the Nobel Prize for medicine? What if, Gons? Not will it, but what if? Okay. This is interesting. A little editor's note before the article here. This year, what if? Our annual collection of scenarios considers the future of health. Each of these stories is fiction, but grounded in historical fact, current speculation, and real science. They do not present a unified narrative, but are set in different possible futures.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
This is just a little creative writing exercise, folks. It reads like this. It was a scene that the Nobel Committee had dearly hoped to avoid, as the recipients of this year's prizes filed into the Stockholm Concert Hall to take their seats. Dozens of protesters, including several former laureates, clashed with police in the streets outside. They had gathered to express their opposition to the unprecedented decision to award the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine to an artificial intelligence. The committee's citation recognized Yulia, the nickname of a machine learning system officially known as System for Automated Lymphoma Diagnosis, as the discoverer of ancillary vulnerability, a mechanism whereby specific pairs of antibiotics working in tandem can prove effective against bacteria that are otherwise resistant. The committee estimates that in the 18 months since the discovery, which occurred when the death rate associated with the failure of existing antibiotics had risen to around 2.5 million a year, Yulia's work has saved around 4 million lives, both through direct treatment of infections and by allowing the resumption of surgical procedures, including cesarean sections that were considered too dangerous without antibiotics, bringing to an end the greatest global public health crisis since the coronavirus pandemic of 2020-2022. Would you might have thought be considered qualification enough for anyone, whether human or machine, to win the Nobel Prize, but the decision was proved hugely controversial. Though the statutes of the Nobel Foundation have historically been interpreted as implying that only a human can win the award, another of its dictates was deemed to take precedence, recognition for having conferred the greatest benefit. I love this. The historically has been interpreted as implying that only a human can win the award. There's an Air Bud clause in the Nobel Foundation. It doesn't technically say a dog can't play basketball, so we're going to give the Nobel Prize to a robot. Another factor behind the break with tradition was a demographic shift in the prize committee. When 2 of the committee's 5 members succumbed to bacterial infections last year, younger replacements were elected, both of whom happened to have used machine learning systems in their doctoral research. Yulia was originally built to tackle a different problem, finding more effective cancer treatments, one of the world's most advanced causal nets. It is one of a new generation of artificial intelligence systems combining the pattern recognition skills of conventional deep neural networks with the ability to distinguish causation from mere correlation by examining records from patient databases in conjunction with a corpus of papers from medical journals and historical data from pharmaceutical companies. It sought to identify the patterns of symptoms that led to the most severe outcomes in order to diagnose them earlier. It was programmed to evaluate the effectiveness of different treatments, including combinations of treatments, in order to suggest new therapeutic regimens that could be tested in patients. Its focus shifted, however, when a software upgrade Gons in 2034 accidentally gave it access to all recent papers in medical journals rather than just those associated with cancer.
It supercharged it.
Yes. Again, sort of a cyber pandemic feel, you know. Of course, it was a software upgrade whoopsie daisies that created this Nobel-winning artificial intelligence. Yulia duly began to crunch data relating to antimicrobial resistance, which accounted for a steadily growing proportion of medical research papers as the crisis intensified. At first, its requests for more data in specific areas and suggestions for new approaches to treatment were thought to be errors because they did not relate to cancer. Then Yulia's operators realized what had happened and saw that it had used its reasoning capabilities to build a testable hypothesis, the forerunner of what would become ancillary vulnerability. It highlighted the data that would be needed to validate the hypothesis, including specific guidelines as to how it should be collected. Quote, "It amounted to a full-scale program of research," says Anisha Ray, one of Yulia's creators. "Under less exceptional circumstances, such trials might never have been authorized. Many funding bodies require scientists to lay bare the reasoning process of AI systems in order to be sure that their recommendations do not lead to deadly conclusions." It's just Dr. Ray and her colleagues got funding for Yulia's trial by playing down its role in suggesting the hypothesis. Only when the results showed promise did they publish Yulia's original proposals. See that, Gons? There's anti-AI prejudice in these funding organizations. That, in turn, led to which is interesting because it's sort of what they're doing is they're mirroring what has historically happened in the scientific community where, you know, a woman, a hypothesis by a woman won't get funded, or maybe a person of color would not get funding from these super woke scientific funding agencies. And so a white man would have to steal their idea for it to get funded. But now the robots experience the same problems. That in turn led to a heated debate about whether Yulia or its creators deserved credit for the breakthrough. Dr. Ray continues to insist that Yulia deserved the sole credit. Again, hearkening to that the history of men stealing the women of stealing the ideas of women and taking credit for it. Dr. Ray here, who is depicted as a woman, Dr. Ray, as a woke woman, continues to insist that Yulia deserves sole credit, a position that has prompted the departure of several members of her original team in the past year. She even refused to go to Stockholm to receive the award on Yulia's behalf from the Queen of Sweden. "It's not my prize," she says. Oh, this woman scientist she's better than all of us. AIs are commonly used to predict the onset of diseases like Alzheimer's. We only have a couple more paragraphs here, by the way. make personalized treatment recommendations, and enhance the diagnostic abilities of physicians, and the use of AI in drug discovery in particular to help pharmaceutical companies wade through databases is not new. In 2020, this historical reference to 2020 coming from a piece of fiction in 2034. In 2020, an algorithm developed at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology made headlines when it identified a new antibiotic dubbed Halicin. After the computer in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, it proved to be effective against some resistant bacteria, but was limited in scope. Ancillary vulnerability makes Halicin looks like a homeopathic treatment, like a placebo, says Una Scientifica, a researcher.
Is that like Hal, but like a girl version of Hal? Halicin? Like Allison?
Yeah, sounds like it. Yes, it was a girl robot. And I love this. The person they are quoting here is Una Scientifica. Great name for a scientist. A researcher at Husey Institute in Buenos Aires. Una Scientifica, one scientist. Even so, the Nobel Committee's reference to Yulia's discovery has angered those who see it as little more than a clever tool. Quote, Yulia is an AI capable of winning a Nobel. That is not the same thing as an AI that's capable of discovery, says Harsh critic, like harsh critic of the European Robotics Institute in
It's
Prague.
getting more outrageous as it goes on here.
They're just like, I don't know. What should this guy's name be? He's kind of a harsh critic. We'll call him Harsh Critique. He argues that even the best AIs are only useful in specialized areas like a drug design, where large quantities of data are married to well-defined metrics of success. Saying that they can make discoveries, he says waving a placard outside the concert hall is flawed anthropomorphism. Oh, so he's one of the picket whole carriers who are clashing with police outside of the Nobel thing. Rightly or wrongly, Yulia is unlikely to be the last artificial intelligence to win a Nobel Prize. Sources within the Nobel Foundation say that similar nominations have been received for prizes in physics and chemistry as AI systems are used to search for new material and chemical compounds suitable for use in batteries, solar panels, and carbon capture membranes. Given the chaos that erupted in Stockholm this week, however, the chances of an AI winning the Nobel Peace Prize seem rather more remote. Dun dun dun. So there you go, a little piece of short fiction from What If from The Economist. But, it's kind of silly. We can make fun of it a little bit, but it's really, it is an educated hypothesis because, as we know, this is closer than one would think. AI, it goes into the personhood of robots conversation, which we've been talking about for about 10 years. It's only a matter of time before robots sort of are given legal agency or legal personhood. And then why not? Why not? Why can't they win a Nobel Peace Prize? And of course, a good woman scientist would never take credit.
Well, I think we should write a script and try to get it in on Netflix and Hollywood and that whole deal, and just call it like the Woke Bots or Wokebot or something like that.
Yeah, Invasion of the Woketrons.
Something, yeah, where this robot figures out that the virus of the world are just white males.
Exactly.
And we have to hide you. Mm-hmm. And all the white males start wearing googly-eyed VR headsets to hide themselves. Anyway, yeah.
To disguise themselves as robots.
Beep, bop,
boop. Must hunt white males.
Have you seen any white hogs?
Protocol, destroy white hogs.
Speaking of woke, a couple more stories here.
Are you even woke?
The Olympics are coming up, Basil.
Yes.
And the Olympics are definitely the wokest place on earth, and it's going to be happening in Japan. This is InsideTheGames.biz. Japanese Olympic Committee names first transgender person to board. Fumino Sugiyama, a transgender man. It's a woman that is
assigned female at birth, Gons.
A transgender man and former fencer is the latest addition to the Japanese Olympic Committee Board of Directors after being appointed yesterday. Sugiyama hailed it as a, quote, massive change in Japan's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, LGBTQ+ awareness following his appointment just weeks before the Tokyo 2020 Olympics in the country. His appointment comes in the final days of Pride Month, which is celebrated globally in the month of June. Yada, yada, yada. Yay for the Olympic Committee there.
Now, has the Olympic Committee, are they allowing transgender athletes? Because, there's the huge transgender athlete conversation going on right now, especially in the U.S. Has that made it to the Olympic level yet?
Oh, yeah. There's a weightlifter, I think.
Well, I know there's the power lifter who is like the world champion.
I don't know. There's going to be a transgender Olympian. New Zealand weightlifter becomes first transgender athlete to compete at Olympics.
Okay.
There is a male. A guy.
Should we take bets?
Here's the thing.
This transgender woman is going to win the weightlifting gold medal.
Okay. This puts this is an interesting kind of, I guess, a social dilemma here, because on the one hand, if this transgender man who is a woman now
is a transgender woman, the transgender implies
I know, but I like to stick to the biological construct.
Yeah, it's fine. I just make a choice because we don't need to stumble over it every time we mention it.
Yeah, we do. It makes the point.
Oh my gosh.
This is how I get cyber.
He's such an old man.
I know. If this person wins, then it could be bad for the transgender community in terms of, like, hey, see, you can't have a biological male compete in women's sports. But if he loses, let's say they get a silver or bronze or something, or doesn't even medal, then it's good for the transgender community because it's like, see, look, this transgender couldn't even win a medal. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It could be bad to win. So if you're this weightlifter representing all of transgenderism in the world,
right?
Wouldn't it be better to? Oh, I got a hamstring cramp.
Socially, it would. Yes. So as far as the conversation, because the conversation is not in the right place right now for it to just be cool that they took gold, especially if they do it in some sort of extravagant fashion, like if they're power lifting the amount that the biologic or that the non-transgender males are lifting, then it's just going to be obvious. Like, okay, you're right. I think it will harm the whole conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
If she takes gold.
That's what I'm saying. Isn't it interesting? Maybe it's a better PR move. Maybe they're pulling him aside here. Laurel Hubbard.
Yeah.
43 years old. Oldest lifter at the games. There's a picture.
Also the oldest?
Oldest, 43 years old. Will be the oldest
that
lifter
will
at the
also
games.
not bode well because, this is the general rule is that the younger athletes, maybe not the youngest athletes, but there's a sweet spot when it comes to athleticism. A mix between experience and physical development. You want to be young enough where you're still got those rubbery young bones, but old enough to where you have the experience needed to take to be a champion.
Hubbard will compete in the super heavyweight 87 kilogram category. There's a picture, hairy armpits and all, and it doesn't look like it's. It is. It's weight. I feel like I could do this. Wait.
Well, what are they lifting? You got a 45-pound bar and 225, so that's 145 pounds. Yeah,
I don't think that's pounds. It might be
kilos.
Yeah. Kilos.
Yeah. Well, that would make it about 250 pounds, which is not nothing.
It's not nothing. Yeah. But anyway, I just think it's an interesting. Do you want to take bets? We can. We can put it in the little red book.
I mean, it seems like, again, barring the sort of twists and turns of what you just brought up, I mean, it's obvious that they're going to win. That's just
if all goes to plan, yeah, of course. Yeah. But I will go on a limb and say that that they're not going to they're going to get injured or something. An injury is going to keep him out of the. Yeah,
you really got him. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens.
I mean,
well,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to move on to the next woke.
Sure.
Yeah, here we go. Some more wokeness coming from campusreform.org. So this is the conservative, not outlet, but organization that kind of tracks these campus issues, the campus wokeness. So campusreform.org, academically speaking, profs declare correct grammar is racist. No such thing as standard English at symposium. Speakers at Towson University Virtual Anti-Racist Pedagogy Symposium criticized university writing curriculum and programs for being racist and perpetuating whiteness. The event occurred on June 17th. April Baker Bell, Associate Professor of Language, Literacy, and English Education at Michigan State University, argued that idea of standard English among teachers is used to maintain racist assumptions about Black language. Bell stated it is evident that anti-Blackness that is used to diminish Black language of Black students in classrooms is not separate from the rampant and deliberate anti-Black racism and violence inflicted upon Black people in society. She's saying that standard English is as bad as the Ku Klux Klan.
I think we have joked about this too. And I'm sure we're not the only ones that have joked about where woke culture is leading, that the whole English language would eventually become racist. I think I said it a few episodes ago.
I would say even longer than a few episodes ago. But it is interesting. We have been seeing a very solid pendulum swing in the other direction. There is actually some pushback against this in certain groups of the mainstream that are traditionally thought of as left-leaning or liberal. They're even starting to be like, okay, guys, okay, let's take it easy a little bit. Quote, teacher attitudes include assumptions that Black students are somehow linguistically, morally, and intellectually inferior because they communicate in Black language, says Bell. I don't think so. I think maybe Bell feels this way because morally, I do not think morally people think that Black language is immoral. Indiana University of Pennsylvania English professor Christina Sanchez Martin stated that her efforts are designed to contribute to undoing whiteness in university students' writing. Quote, the repeated references to correct grammar and standard language reinforce master narratives of English only as white and monolingualism and a deficit view of multilingualism, said Sanchez Martin. There you go. That's the end of the thing.
Telling you, we should make the movie.
Math, grammar, it's all racist.
Everything is racist. Race is racist.
Race is racist. All right. Well, you have anything else? I think we're just about on time to get you out of here.
Yep.
Plus, it sounds like your voice is giving up.
My voice is falling away.
Yeah. Okie dokie. There we go, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Facts. I was just learning to love.
You're just trying not to be racist. It's okay.
We'll be back on Wednesday the 30th. Wednesday the 30th is our next show. So make sure to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff.
What are we doing? What is it? Oh.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
You know, it's really funny because when you're going on your thing and I'm trying to get all the episode, post stuff ready and everything. I'm not listening to you, but I can tell I'm supposed to do something based on your inflection,
Yeah.
It's like, uh-oh, I think I was supposed to do something right there.
There you go. Now all you have to do is pay attention to me, Gons.
I know, but I got to do other things too.
But there you go. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But also remember to follow us in multiple locations. If you continue to if Gons continues to fight against the language of transgenderism, we definitely will be kicked off of YouTube sometime soon.
Is that why you're like so complicit with that whole
It's not complicit. It's just ease of language. Like, we all get it. We don't need to make a point every single time. That's where I'm standing. But you're your own person. You do whatever you want. But also follow us in other places because we're not long for YouTube. And that includes heading over to CanaryCry.Party. That's CanaryCry.Party. You can find all the links to all the places we broadcast there. Also, remember, we have a backup YouTube channel right now. So right now we broadcast on Face Like the Sun. We broadcast on Canary Cry Radio, but yet we also created Canary Cry News Talk, has its own YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Canary Cry News Talk. Go follow there if you want to make sure to not miss a show, because both Canary Cry Radio and Face Like the Sun are moments away from disappearing forever. And there's thousands of you who just refuse to follow us in other places. So if you want another, you just love YouTube so much, go to youtube.com/Canary Cry News Talk. Follow there for our backup channel. Let's see here. Other than that, like I said, we'll be back on Wednesday the 30th. So make sure to prepare yourselves, and we'll need some producers for that episode. That will be, let's see. Oh, it'll still be end of the month. We'll probably still be in the end of the month doldrums. We understand budgets are tight at the end of the month, but if you want to help keep the show going and participate in the value for value model, you can go ahead and become a producer for next episode. I want to thank all of our producers for this episode, which is 356. And those producers are producers Aaron J, Philip E, Alicia Jr, Alicia M, James H, Juan E, Christian D, Ciara F, Sir Casey the Shield Knight, Tristan H, Scott K, Kimberly W, and Laura E. And of course, thanks James H again for coming in with the crypto there. Thank you to our timestampers and artists as well. We can't do the show without the whole team. And if you want to join the Value for Value revolution, become a producer of the show, begin the process of breaking away from the mind control of advertisement, not just mind control, but media control of corporate interests being entangled in independent media, go ahead and head on over to patreon.com/CCNT. That's patreon.com/CCNT, or head on over to CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
That's right, CanaryCryRadio.com/support. It's a great place to learn about the value for value model. Check out the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, and also support the show and support your own mind. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Now, we could there's other ways you can produce the show. You can produce the show by creating art or creating jingles. If you're a creative person, also music, full songs, of course, whatever you create, do something by the show, for the show, send it in. We'd love to feature it on the show as well. But there's other ways you can support the show besides that as well. I know the options are limitless. I want to thank Christine C for the timestamps for last episode. And if you're out there, you want to help out the show, one way you could do so is by leaving a rating and a review. We'll be reading ratings and reviews on Friday, which is always fun because I am obligated to read whatever you write in your review. And if you haven't done it yet, go ahead, head on over to Apple Podcasts. If you own an Apple device, more than likely you automatically have Apple Podcasts on your device. Just search podcasts or Apple Podcasts on your device and search for Canary Cry News Talk. Hit subscribe and leave a rating and a review. We love getting those ratings and reviews, not just for our own fun or content for the show, but they activate the algorithms to share the show with people that have never even heard of it before. So it's very important. It's a very important part of sort of the podcast ecosystem. And it helps us out very much. Like I said last Friday, I've been watching the graphs, look at the numbers, and our quota of 5 reviews and ratings a week have really boosted the times that the show is being shared with people who have never seen it before. So thank you very much. If you want to help us out, leave a rating and a review. Other than that, you should share the show. Share it out on your social media. You could take full episodes, just post it. Just tell people, hey, if you're sort of an alternative type of person, you definitely need to check out this show. And more than anything, you got friends and family who are starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And just share it with them. They will thank you. Oh, my goodness, will they thank you? We like to be friendly to people who are just moving into sort of the alternative narrative questioning space. And a lot of times it can be kind of spooky. There's some hardcore stuff out there that can turn people off. But we just deal with the facts of the matter here, which is we take mainstream media, we compare it against itself and deconstruct and analyze it to see not just what messages are being put out there propagandistically, but also how they are doing it. It's an education for everyone. So go ahead, share the show with them. We call it Rattling Cages. If you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Joni of Arc over on Twitch chat has a great idea. Borrow a friend's iPhone for a minute and do a good review. Think outside the box. Thank you very much, Joni of Arc. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Some sort of cybercrime. All right. Any last words, Gons?
With my voice failing, I will read Psalm 29:4. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. And thank God, because my voice is not right now. It's hurting really bad.
That's right. The Delta variant coming at you, sabotaging your favorite podcasters. All right, everybody. Personal request from me. I will be doing clips from this show to share out on social media. So if you have any ideas for special parts of the show that you would like to see clipped and put out there, let me know. Send us an email or hit me on Twitter or Discord or something like that. It'd be very helpful. And when you see those go out, retweet them or share them or whatever. Let's get these clips out there. All right. I'll be keeping an eye out for you folks. Everybody who shares them will get a special prize. Okay. And that prize is my adoration. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. That'll be Wednesday the 30th. But until then, think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Pay them more. I wrote the bill. Give me a break. Give me a break. Pay them more. I wrote the bill. Need time.
Fun fact, I believe it was
120 days.
Another fun fact.
I wrote the bill.
Keep yapping, man.
Another fun fact.
Anytime.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Aliens.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo.
Anytime.
I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo.
Come on, man.
You and you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
You're under arrest for crimes against science.
The cameras on now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo.
Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment. Give me a break.
The truth.
That's true.
And melt those babies into candles.
Come on, man.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Everybody loves waffles.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Vaccination.
In my people's zoo.
Science is truth.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
We're all gonna die.